So I am pro. No, I have to understand what you're saying. I am pro Israel, but I don't want. No. Don't.
Okay. I understand. I'll tell you why. No, you're pro Israel.
Okay, what's your announcement, Myron?
There's no other country, and this is like an interesting thing for some to think about also. There's no other country that has a word to say that you agree that they should exist. It's a very strange concept and a concept that probably shouldn't be accepted. So like when you ask someone who's not like in the thoughts that like we are you a Zionist? They think of like a pioneer. They think it's like it's a very interesting idea. Like there's no word to say that I believe France should exist. So I think that America shouldn't be bombed back to stone. Like, there's no such concept.
But Meyer, what about when?
To me, it's a given, you know. Like I treat Israel just like any other country. It's just a concept that I just got familiar with probably a few months ago with you guys, but I don't really care about it. It's like no.
And it's easier to understand from the negative. Like what is an anti-Zionist? Like anti-Zionist, like maybe it's easier to understand like this.
Right. Like you have to tell me I'm not anti-Zionist. Like of course I don't want to go bomb. Yeah.
But what do you say when they say that the war started before October 7th?
Hi, Adrian.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, my brothers. I have converted to become Palestinian Jordanian, and I am now fighting the Zionist regime as a patrilineal Jew. Assalamu alaikum, alamak.
You will never be
Russian.
You will never be a true Palestinian until you say Palestinian.
Or the Gaza.
It's not it's like from the deep of the throat.
It is the Arab glottal. That is how you know the Palestinians are not indigenous to the land, that they are colonizers themselves.
Oh my God. Hey, I'm sorry. This is my room. Isa, can you say goodbye to Adrian for 1 second?
Afwan Habibi, beware the fascist and the communist. Fight them all.
Adrian, no!
Outrage when you come on Clubhouse. You really don't care about it.
Really fake outrage. Like, what?
No, I thought Trump. Like, you really don't care.
Notice how you didn't address Monica's question, and you just went to a completely different. You went to another topic. Like,
So, and when I have whatever outrage I have for Trump, it's real. It's not fake. I mean, I'm not gonna go shoot the man, right? I'm not gonna punch him in the face when I see him. I'm not gonna curse at him. I just think that he is not the type of person that should have that job. He doesn't have the temperament. He doesn't have the attitude. Temperament, attitude, for everything.
Okay, that's fair. But do you think that Kamala is a good?
I'm a casual observer. I really haven't paid attention to Kamala. I am excited to see what happens during this debate. I don't think I've ever heard her give an entire speech.
But you're gonna vote for her though.
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
How do you? Okay.
Remember the other guy, right? Remember the other guy that I?
You haven't really paid attention to her, but you're gonna vote for her.
Remember, it's the option between two.
Oh man, no, I don't believe in that.
One, you don't believe in them?
as a Christian, she's voting for Trump, though.
Wait, what should I? Wait, are you telling me that I shouldn't vote for the Democrats?
What I'm saying is that the concept of vote for the lesser of the two evils is not a thing. If you think both people
I don't even think she's evil. I just don't know anything about her.
Well, then why would you vote for someone you don't know anything about?
Because she's forwarding the Democratic agenda.
No, because you hate Trump.
Why do you? Listen, so I'll just give you a little backstory. And just so you know, I am a real estate business man, right? I've been in real estate for a long time, construction for a long time.
Me too.
And who do you think is a iconic figure in the real estate world for the last umpteen years?
Donald Trump.
Okay, great. So during that time period, always a big fan. Somebody who can take undervalued properties and make them wonderful, glorious properties of opulence, right? That's always been admirable. So I've never had a problem with Donald Trump until he got into politics and until he took this posture of.
Maybe it's not a Donald Trump problem. Maybe it's a you problem.
Until he had the posture of go back to your shithole country, right? Because I don't think that's necessary to, foment.
Well, time for being the real
One second. Well, let me just land with this real quick. I don't think that's necessary to stir up your base. I think there's enough reasonable, rational people that he could have used less divisive language in order to get you guys excited. But he didn't use that language.
Listen, I hate to interrupt this moron, but go to the gym and vote Trump, fatties.
And it's got a consequence, and there's going to be a consequence to the type of rhetoric you use.
Drop the N-word, we win.
It's all kabuki theater. Like, you have to look beyond.
It's not kabuki theater, moron. It's called fighting the communists and fighting the socialists. We have to fight the communists and we have to fight the socialists.
Just get rid of them. What are y'all leaving them in the room for?
Is he a politician or like a prophet from God that we need to interpret what he says?
That's blasphemy.
It's beyond. It's like if Donald Trump says screw all the other races, then people are gonna leave, and Donald Trump is gonna be like, "Why did you leave?" You're gonna be like,
"Just kick him from the room." That's the ink, and that guy is really stupid. Chris, welcome to the Chilling Podcast, where we are trolling mercilessly as we fight the communists.
Or John Kitover.
Don't say that name out loud. You're doxing me.
Oh, sorry. I thought, if you say it 3 times out loud.
Darth Vader pops out your ass?
Yeah, exactly. That was a great room. But, I can't believe they were letting you speak for such a long time.
Sometimes, a lot of these rooms now, because they're social rooms, I think that if it's not your room, I don't know how it technically works now, but like I get the feeling they can't kick me in these social rooms.
Well, that was such a powerful comedic technique that you were deploying. Earl Grey passed away recently, and he's quite the figure within the African American community.
Yeah.
And the way that you deployed, just so crazy. It was really putting me in the now. It really was. It was great.
Yeah, I think it's a funny idea to suggest to ADOS that they're the last remaining survivors of the Americans. And then all of a sudden they kind of start thinking about that fuck, I am America.
It's really an awesome inception technique. Because, that's ADOS, I can see that becoming a movement that spreads very rapidly within the majority of people who are ADOS.
Yeah.
I can really see that happening.
They have a unique position in American history and world history because they have been amalgamated and consumed into into a white population, and they get along, and they speak the same language, and they listen to the same music. So it's like they're more white than they know, which is funny. They may look black and sound black.
That's where the magic comes in, Adrian. That's where it comes in. Because, I don't know, like you were saying, it really made sense. I still haven't unlocked that key yet. That lock. But you were saying, black women have magic. And you're 100% right about that. I've been just sort of thinking about it. Every interaction with black women, there's some magic to it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm currently lit up, smoking this THC, which is not banned in like 50 states, and it's pretty great.
Let's see what YouTube says with regards to black women magic. It's actually a really interesting topic because so there's this event you don't I'll it's where is it? It's called Thelemicon, which is Aleister Crowley's AA or the Ordo Templi Orientis. It's like they're having an annual conference with the Temple of the Silver Star, and they have an online version which is only like $50. So I'm gonna live stream their 3-day conference. You know, because I'm not gonna fly out there and pay for a ticket. But yeah, I'll try to join the room if you see the Thelemicon. It's in the beginning of October.
Yeah, I would love to join them. Listen, Aleister Crowley, like I don't really know much about him, but he seems like a very interesting person.
Just because it's in English and from like a neurolinguistic programming perspective, it's very valuable information. It's all C.G. Jung unconscious, subconscious, superconscious shadow work for healing and therapy to try to get you to optimize your life. And you can call it a cult, but the Democrats are a cult, and so you got to fight fire with fire, or at least fire with water. I don't know. But what I think would be an interesting topic is black women magic, and showing how working with black women can bring about radical manifestation and change in your life.
My dad, he works for, a hospital, and he said that every interaction that he's had with like black women, like in the HR department, has radically transformed his outlook and perspective. And it's interesting for sure.
They can be your greatest advocate, or they can be your greatest, tormentor. They can hate. They can absolutely, because if you hate them, they're gonna hate you. But if, like, for example, I was at the VA hospital once, and this black nurse was like, "Do you want the new upgraded vaccine?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good, thank you. I appreciate the offer." She's like, "Are you sure? It's free. We got them right here." I'm like, "I'm good, thank you." She's like, "All right, now, just double checking." And then she's like, I don't know what she said. "Are you married?" They ask you those questions. I was like, "Nope, single." And I said, "Are you still married?" And she goes, "Nope, I got a husband, motherfucking worthless piece of shit." I was like, "A husband?" Never heard that one before. So every time I have conversations now, I say, "Oh, you got a husband."
That's hilarious. That's so funny. He was a husband. Oh my goodness.
Sometimes I can't believe you're married. How old are you again?
26.
Jesus. I had a friend in college, this guy David, who's, in hindsight, just the nicest guy you could ever hope to meet. And post-college, he got married the very first day to his, like, sweetheart. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Are you out of your fucking mind?" I was like, "Are you stupid? What's wrong with you?" But I think they may have already had a kid, but you're not allowed to, like, have a kid, in college or whatever. It's against the rules, so you got to keep it a secret. And yeah, he married her the first day, and they're still happily married and have a big family. And so it's like, some people,
Be fruitful, and multiply.
yeah, be fruitful and multiply. And some people are set up for that because they were raised like that. My family was like constantly fighting and broke apart.
But these faggots, they don't reproduce, they recruit. That's how they work.
Yeah, they're mafia.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the gay
They
mafia.
recruit their
Yeah.
younger years.
Yeah.
So, it's
Yeah, it's the gay mafia. They molest each other, and then the cycle of homosexual and pederasty continues. Just goes on and on and on.
it'd be way too easy to put an end to it, but people are just, I guess, motionless. That's the way to put it.
All right, we have a new visitor here in the Darth Vader resurrection room. Welcome, 5K, to the resurrection of the Sith Lord, Darth Vader. We're talking about the gay mafia.
I love Anakin.
You like little white boys?
I love Anakin.
You know, that's the thing about James Earl Jones is most people don't realize that Darth Vader is, you know, a combination of a black male voiceover and a young white boy who grew into a android, basically, you know, because he only has like part of his head, part of his upper torso, one arm. You know, he burned up. And let's not forget that it was his teacher and friend that left him.
You tell him you had the high ground.
Yep. You have the high ground, Anakin.
Yeah.
Don't try it. I hate you.
But then, you know, the father,
He sliced him right up.
for love of his son, overcame the dark side. So that's what happened. That's what needs to happen in the black community, is the love between fatherhood and sonhood need to come back together.
I know, but you got to remember that now, Mark Hamill, aka Luke Skywalker, he is showing his true colors. He actually wasn't a knight of the light. He is a faggot of the darkness, and he is endorsing and trolling and full on Democrat. He's probably a member of the gay mafia, but it doesn't really matter because James Earl Jones. I saw him in an airport once on a stretcher, going through the airport on a stretcher, through security on a stretcher. Like, have you ever rolled up to the airport in a fucking stretcher and everybody's like, make way, Darth Vader is here, make way. And then everybody was like grouping around his stretcher. Everybody wanted to see him. It was incredible. And this was many, many years ago. So to hear that he died today, like he survived another 15 years after I saw him at the airport on a stretcher. It's kind of amazing. You can live a long life. You can recover and get another 10 years here, another 10 years there. You know, the big thing. Okay, so I got a great book for you. You got to listen to this. It's called The Right to Be Greedy. Somebody put it into an audiobook. I spent $100. It's a rare book. It's called The Right to Be Greedy, Theses on the Practical Necessity of Demanding Everything. And I was talking to all these African Americans yesterday on this app, all these ADOS or these FBA. And, you know, they don't even understand that they need to be greedier, that they need to demand more, that they have to become more collectivist. And the truth is that if you want to live longer, you have to say less. Because all these bad thoughts are just recurring thoughts, and you're not clearing your cache and putting in any new gigabytes of data. So, you know, the ADOS community are their own worst, are their own worst enemy. They themselves inhibit their growth and expansion because they're not actually allowing white people to come into their spaces and educate them on how to be greedier. That's right, greed. We view greed as being a negative, miserly, but that's not necessarily true in a fake fiat currency world where the dollar is the greatest illusion going still, and it'll never stop. I mean, if I had a brick of cash and I went to Colombia right now, or I went to Brazil, I would be treated like a motherfucking G-King. Or they would rob me. Either way, you know, it's a highly magnetic piece of paper. How is a piece of paper so magnetic, draws such attention and energy and compliance? Oh, you want me to go dig a hole 1,000 feet deep in that field over there? Do you have the cash? Yes, I do. All right, where's the shovels? I'll start digging. How long is it going to take? 10 years for some paper? 10 years for paper? How do you think the pharaohs got 100,000 people to build, their tombs and their pyramids? They would have 100,000 man crews with 10,000 people working 24 hours a day on the pyramids. And every new king, there were 30 dynasties, 3,000 years, and 3,000 years is about 1,000,000 days. 1,000,000 fucking days. It doesn't sound like that much, but that's 3,000 years. And look at our 2,000 years, which is only 2,000,000 days. And look what the Egyptians were around longer than Western civilization by a period of by a factor of 10. So Western civilization is nothing compared to the Nile, Egyptian Valley, and Delta in terms of world history. And Kamala could ruin all of it. She could destroy all of it. Her and Tim Waltz. It's just crazy because she is the Kali Yuga, the black goddess of the apocalypse and death and destruction and chaos. And Waltz is this child predator, Minnesotan, Hoosbuden.
And he went to China 30 fucking times. Can you name one single person that you know who's been to China 30 fucking times?
President Xi. There's no, I had a friend that went to 160 Dave Matthews Band concerts. And I was like, dude, you might have the record. He's like, no, my friend has the record. He's at 365 Dave Matthews Bands. And I was like, you're shitting me. He's been to 365 concerts. And I was like, well, who's been to more than him? Or who's been more than you? He goes, probably Dave Matthews. So if you want a Chinese vice president, I'm not saying that could be all bad. But unfortunately, he's not a professor or a scholar. He's a fucking radical revolutionary communist. A dangerous piece of shit child predator. He's a psychopath. He's high on the index of psychopathology.
Do you see that policy that Kamala Harris hasn't really backtracked on, where she wants to trans illegal immigrants, kids?
Oof.
She would say that the taxpayers fund that. And it's like, people are completely fucking retarded, man. Like, I didn't vote in the last election, but this election, fucking, man, I'm voting. Like, it's now or never, really.
Yeah.
We're so fucking close to the edge. People don't realize it. It's insanity.
We're not close to the edge. We're already doing it. We are already doing it. Every single day there's a new news article about an illegal who murders or rapes and dismembers some young child.
Do you see like Springfield, Ohio?
Yeah.
How like they imported 20,000 fucking Haitians with an IQ of 68 in a town of a population of 60,000 people. They're starting to eat the cats there. They're too fucking retarded to know how EBT works. Come on.
I know.
This is clown world, and we're living in it.
They're killing the geese and defeathering them and cooking them for dinner. At least somebody's doing it right, I mean, we got to get organic with this food supply and stop letting Kroger continue our high fructose corn syrup diet. Speaking of high fructose corn syrup, I'm about to have a beer with some orange juice. Okay, I want to play for you just a snippet. This is The Right to Be Greedy. This is where I left off last night.
What we already are implicitly. Everything. This becoming visible, this becoming true of the social truth, expresses the total process of the communist revolution.
This has been a production of Audible Anarchist. You can find more Audible. This audio production was made in collaboration.
Science of the exchange value was always only the false consciousness of the economy and the science of alienation. This is the first and final message of its Marxian critique. With the dying out of exchange value, the science of use value, thus all the concrete sciences now unified through their unified subjective use, will become the only useful science. And the science of use value is the science of pleasure. 80. Real economy, savings, consists in the saving of working time, the minimum and reduction to the minimum of production costs. But this saving is identical with the development of productivity. Economizing, therefore, does not mean the giving up of pleasure, but the development of power and productive capacity, and thus both the capacity for and means of enjoyment. The capacity for enjoyment is a condition of enjoyment, and therefore its primary means. And this capacity is the development of an individual's talents, and thus of the productive force. To economize on labor time means to increase the amount of the free time, i.e., time for the complete development of the individual, which again reacts as the greatest productive force.
Yeah, it's a really great book, and it's called The Right to Be Greedy, Theses on the Practical Necessity of Demanding Everything. It was like by the Council for Ourselves. So they really, really push the dialectic boundaries with this book. And even in the very beginning of it, they say, this book is a treatise on dialectic. So it's like an epistle or a, anyways, you want to hear any more of this?
Yeah, this is great stuff. This is really good stuff.
Yeah, it's a very good book. You don't have to buy the book, but you can listen to the audiobook now on YouTube. And I was going to do this, but somebody's so smart, they already did it. I actually already did this, but they did it a little more professional. Here we go.
On the productive force of labor. From the standpoint of the immediate production process, it may be considered as production of fixed capital, this fixed capital being man himself. It is also self-evident that the immediate labor time cannot remain in its abstract contradiction to free time as in bourgeois economy. Work cannot become a game as Fourier would like it to be. His great merit was that he declared that the ultimate object must be to raise to a higher level, not distribution, but the mode of production. Free time, which includes leisure time as well as time for higher activities, naturally transforms anyone who enjoys it into a different person. And it is this different person who then enters the direct process of production. The man who is being formed finds discipline in this process, while for the man who is already formed, it is practice, experimental science, materially creative and self-objectifying knowledge, and he contains within his own head the accumulated wisdom of society. 81. The major shortcoming of contemporary individuals is their incapacity for pleasure. Our daily lives are impoverished in part because we are open to the world, and therefore to pleasure as well as to pain, only in such narrow and limited ways. These are the defenses, the character armor, congruent with a world overloaded with pain, a world of suffering, which was and is the world of poverty, with its struggle for existence, its war of all against all, where to be open is to be weak, and to be weak is to be made a victim. The self-contradiction of bourgeois egoism sharpens, and becomes conscious only in the environment of that incipient world of plenty and world of pleasure which bourgeois society, during the prosperity phase of its economic cycle, itself foreshadows. That is, only when the walls which lock out pain begin to be perceived in daily experience as walls which lock out pleasure. The struggle against the social organization for pain and for the social organization for pleasure is the revolutionary struggle. The problem, formulated another way, is the present narrow character of the appropriation of nature and human nature by man.
This is kind of funny about like Kamala and Waltz and all the past administrations. It's not really wealth redistribution to efficiency. It's wealth redistribution to theft. And so, they really are greedy. I mean, you can complain about the whole system, but I don't think I'm going to vote too. I'm voting Trump, but I don't believe that Trump is going to win. I believe like 90% that Kamala Waltz will be installed through Dominion and through the electric voting system. And so everybody's going to be super disappointed. But this is the thing about Stoicism, is none of these people know Stoicism. So they're going to be super angry and pissed. And they're going to fight. And they're going to...
Already, I've heard Kamala has had like a 92% turnover rate of her...
Oh, really?
People that are, in her team.
Well, then that... Well, that means that they hired clowns and Democrats who were authentic, and then they baited and switched them, and they're bringing in people more loyal to her backers. I had a chick that worked at the DNC, and I kind of stopped talking to her after that. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's working for the campaign now. I haven't followed up with her, but I wouldn't be surprised because she's smart. She's got 2 master's degrees, and
And what's crazy is Dick fucking Cheney is now voting for her. Oh my god. Aren't people waking up from this like shit show?
Did you see the movie with uh, Christian Bale and he played Dick Cheney?
I never have, no.
Oh, you should watch it. I mean, it's a hypnosis, but I told my dad, I was like, Dad, it was pretty good. You should watch it. He goes, fuck that movie. He's like, fucking fake movie, fake propaganda. He's like, fuck that movie. I was like, yeah, you're right, but Christian Bale's fucking amazing. Like, but there's also a story within that story, which is a critique of the administration, but it also glorifies it because it makes it a caricature. So it's like watching a cartoon version, and then it totally covers up their criminal malfeasance. I have a T-shirt that says I survived the Bush administration. And I did, because I definitely could have died. I mean, most likely I would have been killed, but, my uncles warned me, and that's not a lie. My uncles got out of Vietnam, and they warned me.
Have you seen the enrollment rates to the military for white people? It has dropped down to precipitous levels. No one wants to die for this.
I know. But when you see videos of special forces or infantry as opposed to people just looking for a shitty, a free job, they're all white. I hate to tell you, but the warrior class of this country is young white men because they want to be tough. And if you want to legally kill and you want to legally fight, that's where you go. And so you do get a lot of young white men that view it as being like, it's almost inherent, I didn't necessarily want to join. I only joined because of peer pressure. It wasn't pressure. It was just, what is everybody else doing? Oh, I'll try that too. But I had no desire because I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do it as an officer. I didn't want to just fuck college. I read a book called Marine by Chesty Puller, who is the most highly decorated Marine in U.S. history. And if you read that book, you will know what a fucking badass is. I'm talking about a real fucking, tough son of a bitch, a combat killer to the highest degree possible. I mean, he was in the jungles of Haiti mowing down rebels with machine guns in, I think, whatever year that was, probably 19.
Some people are just deemed from God himself that they're never going to die in battle. They're that sort of person, I guess.
Well, that's a stupid person. Because I just saw a video today of like a U.S. soldier telling this stupid Afghani to pick up his machine gun. And then he started firing. He's like, fucking lay it on the ground, point over there, and keep shooting, bitch. And like even doing that, this guy was risking his life because his head was up over the trench. And then snipers were shooting at him. And he was risking his life, to save everyone's life. And the incompetent losers, don't even know how to shoot straight. So, I've been at rifle ranges with women.
That's called sailor's law. When there's been a mass shooting and there's 40 people wounded, but 1 or 2 people killed, that's a black person who's done it. It's a white guy when the death count is above 20.
The one, actually just today, there was a news article about racist white terrorists who have been calling for white genocide, and they're being charged, with domestic terrorism and all these things. So I can guarantee you, when Kamala becomes president, the DOJ will start arresting white people and calling them domestic terrorists because they are trying to encourage people to resist. But it's like, if you listen to the black, ADOS FBA rooms, there will never be a single arrest for black domestic terrorism in this country, because that would be racist. But when they do it to white people, it's just national security. And that's a big problem, because, that's fascism, communism. Welcome to Kamala and Waltz, Tommy. Hello? Tommy is an android. Maybe he's incapable of speaking, or maybe I have the volume down. Oh, I do have the volume down. Tommy, you're in the Chilling Podcast. We're talking about Tampon Tim and communist Kamalism. We were listening to the right to be greedy and the practical necessity to demand everything. So, 15-minute hard stop. I've got to text my boss, my black female overlord, who called me a whore. Yes, my boss called me a whore. And so I will... You're still not fired. So pretty soon, after talking with my psychiatrist for many months now and getting on a new medication, I'm feeling much better. And so when I write my grievance letter and I accuse her of sexual harassment and a continued toxic workplace environment and many other words that describe this type of legal documentation, I will be using the federal government to sue the federal government for sexual harassment in toxic workplace environment, coercement, abuse, all those types of words. Anyways, this is called Black Girl Magic. Actually, I should create a room today and call it Black Girl Magic. I think we will. Stick around, try to find that room. I hope you find it. It's called Black Girl Magic. You're going to love it. You're going to be amazed at what we can do with Bagger Vance. Oh, Will Smith. Will Smith he's coming out with a new trans movie. Did you know that? It's like he redoes his movie, the stockbroker movie, where he knows how to, twirl that toy because he's a genius, the jigsaw. What's that fucking cube called? Anyways, that stock market movie. I actually met that guy in real life. He lived in Trump Tower. Oh, and yeah, this is called Bagger Vance mysticism. Take my wife's name out your motherfucking mouth, bitch. Bagger Vance. Yeah, Hollywood makes a trope and a stereotype out of everything and makes it into a movie. Muslims, Arabs, black men, black women. Every single movie is basically a stereotypical trope hypnosis, which makes you think, which is really a movie about nothing, but it just uses elements from tropes to create narrative and content. But it couldn't be further from the truth, because everybody is the truth. The lie is the simulation or the simulacra, really the communication, the dialectic incoming from really Fortune 500. I mean, they're the only ones who can afford to really message you. Facebook, if Facebook was not basically corporate government communications, small businesses would be able to advertise their businesses for pennies on the dollar and compete with Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, Procter & Gamble for ad space. Unfortunately, that ad space is an auction, and it goes to the highest bidder. It would be great if Congress could legislate or actually provide an amendment or funding for small businesses to compete with mega advertisers for ad space to promote their hair braiding business, their car wash, their home cleaning business, their locksmith business, whatever kind of business is a small local business. They cannot advertise efficiently, affordably. They cannot compete. They can't get their name out there. How are you going to have any kind of startup entrepreneur economy in the small business sector without advertising? And that's the problem, is it's unaffordable. It's inaccessible. So as your state congressman and legislature, I'm going to help you propel your small business with an advertising tax credit. And you have to start being greedier, my fellow Americans, because they are just stealing from you and sending it to Ukraine and Israel and 100 other countries that you don't know about. We've got to free ourselves at the local level from the State Department, the Pentagon, the NSA, the FBI, the CIA. I mean, it impacts our ability as a small business operator and owner from even competing when we have to go up against the top 10 three-letter agencies.
Have you ever talked to Ben Mendelsohn, the creator, the Brazilian, whatever it's called, at the sea, that room that you have?
Yeah, oh yeah, I've,
Yeah.
I've, I know, I've destroyed him multiple times, and I have, I've been on stage, and then people have been like, "Hold on a second, Ben, kick this guy to the goo immediately." I gotta say though, even though he's politically retarded, he actually has a good attitude. He's not like a super depressed person, but he this is his third wife. He's like, every time I got married, I told my wife, let's give it 10 years and then we'll reevaluate. And that's what I've done with both my wives. And now with my third wife, we all get together with my first two wives and we have a great time together. Fucking bitch. He's such a little incel bitch. He's a beta boy. Beta baby boy. Okay, I'm gonna go to the kitchen and refresh myself. I'll be right back. Take it away, Chris. All right. Okay, listen to this. I'm going to read you the ethical writings of Maimonides, or Moses ben Maimon, I think also known as the Rambam. Okay, I think you're feeding your horse over there. Okay, this is Maimonides, chapter 5. The wise man is identified by his wisdom and his character traits, which distinguish him from the rest of the people. Similarly, he needs to be identified by his actions, by his eating, by his drinking, his sexual intercourse, his relieving himself, his speech, his walking, his dress, the management of his affairs, and his business conduct. All of these actions are to be exceptionally decent and fitting. How so? A disciple of wise men shall not be a glutton, but eat food that is suitable for making the body healthy. He shall not eat in a gross manner, nor run to fill his stomach like those who stuff themselves with food and drink until their belly swells. The tradition applies the following verse to such people: "And I will spread dung on your faces, even the dung of your holiday sacrifices." Hagechem. The wise men said, "These are the people who eat and drink and make all their days like holidays." Hagim. They are the same people who say, "Eat and drink, for tomorrow we die." This is how the wicked eat, whose tables scriptures censored by saying, "For all tables are full of filthy vomit, and no place is clean." However, the wise man only eats 1 or 2 courses, eating from them what suffices for life. Enough for him. That is what Solomon said. A just man eats to satisfy his desire. When the wise man eats the little that is suitable for him, he shall eat it only in his house, at his table. He shall not eat in a store, nor in the marketplace, except in case of great need, so that he is not degraded before his fellow creatures. He shall not eat with ignoramuses, nor at those tables full of filth and vomit. He shall not frequent feasts at a variety of places, even with the wise men. He shall not eat at feasts where there is a large gathering. It is not proper for him to eat at feast, unless it involves fulfilling a commandment, such as a feast of betrothal, of marriage. Then only if a disciple of wise men marries the daughter of a disciple of wise men. The just men, the pious men of old, never ate at a feast, not their own. When the wise man drinks wine, he drinks only in order to loosen the food in his intestines. Anyone who becomes drunk commits a sin, is contemptible, and loses his wisdom. If he becomes drunk before ignoramuses, he profanes the name. It is forbidden to drink at noon, even a little, unless it is part of the meal. For drinking, which is part of the meal, does not make one drunk. They, the wise men, warn only about wine that comes after the meal. Even though a man's wife is always permitted to him, it is proper for a disciple of wise men to conduct himself in holiness, and not be with his wife like a rooster, but be with her only on the night of the Sabbath, if he has the strength. When he cohabits with her, he shall not cohabit at the beginning of the night when he is sated, nor at the end of the night when he is hungry, but in the middle of the night, when the food in his intestines is digested. He shall not be frivolous, nor dirty his mouth with obscenity, even between himself and her. Indeed, it says in the tradition, he, God, tells a man what his conversation was. The wise man said, "Judgment is made in the future even upon a frivolous conversation between a man and his wife. Both of them, or one of them, shall not be drunk." Lethargic or sad, he should not be asleep, and he should not force her if she is unwilling, but intercourse shall take place, when both wish it, and in state of mutual joy. He shall converse and play with her a little, so that their souls become tranquil, and he shall have sexual intercourse modestly, not shamelessly, and separate from her at once. Anyone accustomed to this conduct not only makes his soul holy, purifies himself, and improves his character traits, but also, if he has sons, They will be decent and modest, fit for wisdom and piety. Anyone accustomed to the conduct of the rest of the people who walk in darkness will have sons like those people. Disciples of wise men are accustomed to behave with great modesty. They do not degrade themselves. They uncover neither their heads nor their bodies. Even after entering the toilet, one must be modest and not uncover his garments until he sits down. He shall not wipe with the right hand. He shall move away from everyone and, for example, enter the innermost room of a cave and relieve himself there. If he relieves himself behind a fence, he shall go far away, so that his fellow men will not hear a sound if he breaks wind. If he relieves himself in a plain, he shall go far away, so that his fellow men will not see him uncovered. He shall not speak when he relieves himself, even in case of great need. He conducts himself with the same modesty in the toilet at night as by day. A man shall forever train himself to relieve himself only in the morning and the evening, so that he does not have to go off at a distance. A disciple of wise men shall not shout and scream when he speaks like cattle and wild beasts. He shall not raise his voice much, but speak calmly with all his fellow creatures. When he speaks calmly, he shall be careful not to be aloof, lest his words appear to be like the words of the arrogant. He greets every man first, so that they will be pleasantly disposed towards him. He judges every man in a favorable light. He speaks in praise of his fellow man, never disparagingly. He loves peace and seeks peace. Okay, that's called Laws Concerning Character Traits by Maimonides, or Moses ben Maimon, edited by Raymond Weiss and Charles Butterworth. Mr. Butterworth. Okay, Chris, any comments, thoughts, ideas, or opinions on that great mystic Jewish sage, Maimonides? Okay, I'm going to bring you back into the chilling house, and you're going to listen to a bunch of people talking.
What does it say?
Name that even attempts to be non-biased. And so what I mean.
It's Thugger Biden, our number one Democrat, Pfizer executive, and vaccinologist.
What?
No, I mean like, well, no, but I'm saying like he talks about like his own thoughts, and I think he's genuine with his thoughts. Like he's not like.
That's not unbiased.
It's
That doesn't mean you're
no, what I'm
unbiased.
saying is that when people are talking on these news channels, they're being paid to say things. They're not their own thoughts. When Jordan Peterson is saying something, it's genuinely his own thoughts.
But Jordan Peterson isn't being paid. He's being paid.
No,
He's saying things that his audience. He's saying things that his audience wants him to say.
Okay, hold on.
She's American. She's a blonde joy.
Okay, and both Simon.
They kicked me. Fascist. Simon is a fascist. That schmarmy little French Jew. That stupid little video editor. He is one little salty bitch.
This is a fun hobby.
I know, like I said, it's just sad that this next generation has no sense of like what it's like to do something for service of this country.
Something bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
Even being a teacher is doing something bigger than yourself, because that's all. I couldn't be a teacher.
So David, we're in the healthy debates. He writes, can Kamala win the debate? And then he has a link that says Trump is 78, barely coherent. Where's everyone who questioned Biden's age and fitness? So if you listen to Trump, I just listened to Trump at the New York Economic Club, and this is 100% fake news. The man is sharp and is absolutely coherent, totally understanding the situation, sharp as a fiddle. And this is where I think the debate actually tonight will be pretty interesting, because he's coherent and makes sense, and Kamala's just highly emotional. And so if you want to see evidence of this, you can watch the Mike Pence debate with her. And she's such a petty, petulant little child that Tonight should actually be great television because it's going to be really embarrassing for Kamala. And everybody's going to come on Clubhouse and be like, dude, Trump donked on that bitch hard. He fucking slammed that hoe. And that's what's going to happen.
I love good sports story.
Yeah, going over to Tybee Island.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Smelled. And I heard that eucalyptus is really good for
Yes,
allergies.
but lavender is really good at changing little boys' hormones, so be careful.
Well,
so
I don't
that's
do
an
it
important
anymore
thing.
because I
It's
never
because
replaced
it's
any of the oils.
Oh.
Hey,
That's
so,
not good.
so what is your view? Like, my wife does some of the, I guess it is essential oils. She buys some of it for like the hair diffuser. Is there any benefit? I mean, I don't mind it because it smells good.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there any actual benefit, or is it just like marketing stuff?
No, I mean, there's actual benefit.
We're in a debate about a debate. This is Healthy Debates with Jay Breska. He's not going to probably bring me up. He's a communist. He's a fascist. Okay, we're going to make fun of 10 shortly. This guy is really psychiatric. He has a room, it's called Nope, It's Still Not Flat Earth, launched to the ISS on Wednesday. I mean, this guy is fucking retarded. Like, he might be the stupidest person on the app, and he has total Trump derangement syndrome. He's Jamaican. His name is 10. He's really stupid. Like, beyond stupid. Alright, he's not going to bring us up. We're going into...
Her ass what, bitch? You heard about the wrong thing. Y'all want to jump somebody? Go jump the little bitch that just jumped your daughter. What the fuck? Pussy.
Hey, Adrian.
Hello?
I don't even want to think about that old fart. Especially Jasmine, big nasty ass.
Oscar.
What's going on in here? Are you revolting against Jazzy?
Yeah, we on that bitch.
Damn, this is the Jazzy Revolution.
So annoying.
Fight the Jazzy. Fight the power.
How are you ugly?
It's the sound of the police. The sound of the beast. Jazzy, hello?
That's for bitches get no respect in my book. I'm sorry. That's my uncle.
You could be fat, but if you're nice, we can make exceptions. But if you a fat bitch, and I mean a bitch, we ain't making no exceptions for no fat bitches up in this motherfucking clown house. We got standards in this clown town.
I mean, bro, you annoying. Quiet.
If you don't like my voice, well then you can get out of the clown town and go to some other town. This is clown town. Honk honk.
Yo, who's up? Oh, actually, I don't want to say who's the ugliest, but who's the prettiest?
On a social audio chat app, it's like the radio. No matter how ugly you are. That's right. I'm a defaulter.
Adrian, shut your girl.
No, she's not.
Stop lying to women.
Hello?
Why anybody lie to women?
Hello?
Anyways.
Hello?
Hey, Fabian.
Sir, keep us in ready. Thank you.
Hello?
Leave me alone.
Hello?
Oh, Angel. That CD you sent me, I seen the confirmation. It comes in tomorrow. I'm so excited. Yeah, Angel has to get my baby in CD.
I ain't tell you about this bitch since TV. Wow. I like missing.
I'm trying to giggle at something so bad.
Hello?
How did Angel have to
I thought I was gonna have to get back cool with you to say yes, but I think I don't have to, so.
Hello?
She's together, y'all. Y'all see how she's doing?
Hello?
Cause you acting like DJ
Hello?
Right.
Hey, bud, I'm finna call my phone.
Hello?
You finna what?
Hello?
No, you finna call his phone.
Hello?
He can't call me.
Hello?
Right? My phone not on, remember?
Hello? 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 Oh, we got Prince in the audience. Oh shit, check out Prince, dog. Prince has got the Daoud. Prince is playing the guitar now. He's singing his new song. Prince, come on up here. Let's hear what you got. Go ahead, Prince. Come on up. Let's hear what you can play on your guitar, Prince. I know you sing a sweet song. You play that fiddle quite well.
Adrian, your phone is cracking. Like, oh my God.
Black don't crack. That's whack.
No, I'm fucking with somebody already. Don't want nobody else right now. Not you trying to add me, slime ball. Please leave me alone. Like, for real. I don't know why y'all.
Hello?
I say that every time.
Hello?
Y'all niggas must get hard arguing with me, cause there ain't no way.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
For gods and goddesses. And someone responded saying, oh, men are gods, not women.
The Bible
How
doesn't
could that
say
even
God.
be?
The scriptures don't.
Side loses as in the right wing. If they lose, yeah, I'm sensing another jam. I'm not gonna lie. Call me delusional. Call me pessimistic. Call me thinking about something that's never gonna happen. I'm not pragmatic. I see another jam 6 happen.
Nation as a people. Then you were never seen Smotrich come into power.
It's over for like the entirety of 90% of like white middle-aged women. It's over for most POCs at that point. And the only reason I'm saying it is because these same people are the same groups or demographics that would say, I'm never voting Republican. I am never voting this. I am never doing that. I'm never doing that. But, well, guess what? You kind of have to now. You're kind of fucked because the Democratic Party has no integrity anymore. This one.
I technology is first to get them trained, second, get them hands-on experience, and third, really communicate as a leader why this is going to help them engineer themselves a better job for the future.
If they win this one, they got it. If they don't, the Republican
Because
Party.
the president wanted people to remain calm. Well, let's go. I don't know, but Susan, this is important.
Today you can act like you act in Steve. Hold on, Brayden, I got you. Adrian?
Yeah, I'm fully adjusted.
I gotta be honest, when you talk seriously, you're probably one of the smartest people on this app. And I mean that sincerely.
Well, flattery's cheap, my friend. And it's, stoically speaking, flattery is, you should shun it.
Jerky, I've said that about you before. Stay on topic.
Okay, so I'd like to present evidence then to, I think Kamala's going to do fine in the debate, and I think Trump's going to slam dunk her. But I think Kamala, because we have evidence. I have a clip queued up right now. It's 30 seconds long. It's Kamala yelling at Vice President Pence saying, I'm speaking. You want to hear it? You want to hear how she debates?
People to remain calm. Well, let's go. I don't know, but Susan, this is important. I want to end, but if Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Yep.
Yeah, let's talk about PAC in the court then. Let's talk about the PAC. Yeah, I'm about to. $400,000 a year.
Repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
The important news, you said the truth.
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation, okay?
Please.
So that's her debate tactic. It's like people here on Clubhouse. They ask questions. They never actually make any declarative statements or make facts. They're chronic opinion makers, and philosophically, that's what's wrong with a lot of people, and psychologically, that's wrong with a lot of people, is that they're just question creators. State your opinion, state your position, and let it rest.
Thank you, Cheeseburger. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning. It's interesting that you played that, I appreciate you played the debate, that clip there. I actually think that if she does that to Trump, it plays differently than how it played to Pence. Because Pence wasn't perceived as this big megalomaniac, sexist. Like, he didn't have that baggage. So when she did that, it came across as overreaching to people. I think to Trump that plays differently. I wanted to say, I just wanted to say this, so maybe come on stage. I actually think that the consequences are worse for the Republicans if they lose this election than the Democrats. And I think that's case in point from the conventions. The Democrats have 3 or 4 players deep who are ready to.
No, but I didn't say that it's not entirely private. I just say that even if you're a private company, you are subjected to different types of laws because of the nature of the company. And this is as functioning as a public square, So and the problem I see with these platforms is that they want their cake and eat it too. So they want to be protected by this law, but they also want to be able to cancel speech, to ban content. Now, I also, and this I am a little bit not conflicted, but I just don't know how to face it really clearly in my brain yet. So you say, for example, Meyer, there are different types of platforms. Going to YouTube, there is Rumble, there is YouTube, right? And so you as a consumer, you as a content publisher, you understand that both of them appeal to different rules, or to levels of tolerance in terms of content. So you get insight to what
one speaker, which the other one just decided to interrupt mid-sentence. And the other one saying, can I please finish my answer to the question that you didn't ask me, that the person that was supposed to be asking the questions did. And I think that's not a tactic. I think that's just asking for a basic level of decorum that the Republicans haven't had for quite a while now.
Hold on, Adrian. I tried to unmute and I hit somebody's profile. So, they say she doesn't know how to debate because they go back to what happened with her and Tulsi Gabbard. They forget about the Mike Pence debate. I thought she walked all over him. And the fact that even flying the segment helped.
The fly walked the whole debate,
Yes, 100%. I also think that clip plays differently to women than it plays to men. And I think in the wake of the reversal of Roe v. Wade, that clip plays entirely different.
Well, let me say this, Brandon. Let Brandon jump in this sentence. I said for months before Harris thought that she'd be on the top of the ticket, that the Republicans, they better not dismiss Roe versus Wade and how important it is to women in America. And now that she's at the top of the ticket, and the thing with the crazy thing is Trump for months was on his soapbox saying, I'm the one that got it overturned. It was my doing. And now he doesn't want to go near it because he knows he fucked that up. Adrian?
Yeah, Trump is a master reframer. And, for example, that economic New York club event, you should watch that speech if you haven't heard it, because people are claiming that Trump is a senile.
I watched it live, but I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah. So, would you agree? I don't have to ask a question. I just thought it was a great, it was great content because it was coherent and intelligent. The backdrop and the environment were unique. But what I'm trying to say is, with this debate with Kamala, the technical, the techniques of the debate with the timer and the muting of mics, this is really about intelligence. And so, that Mike Pence debate, I actually thought Pence won because Pence didn't crack. He didn't get angry. It's like whoever gets angry loses the debate. And that's what you need to watch for. If Trump cracks and gets angry, he loses the debate and the Republicans go down in flames. And this is it. This is the end of the Republican Party. If Trump gets angry, we lose. If Kamala gets angry, they lose. It's really, that's my opinion, it's all about who gets angry tonight. They're the loser. And that's what the confidence of the Republic and the people here are going to feel. They don't want an angry leader. They want a happy, joyful leader because that instills joy in them. when she was.
I didn't.
Yeah, that was anger. That was passive aggressive anger, 100%.
I see. That's where I think that there's a perception thing that especially men are going to perceive that differently than women. And I don't think she came across as angry in that clip. I think she came across as someone who was standing up for themselves against a person who was interrupting them. And I think that actually, I remember that moment. That's the moment that people said, "Go fucking get it." Excuse my language, but that was. There's a difference between being angry and being respectful in a way that puts somebody in their place. And I think that she achieved that in that moment. I don't think it came across as angry to everybody. So I would challenge that assertion.
Well, Brayden, I agree with you in the sense of, I think she saw what he did to Hillary, and she's like, I'm not allowed, what they did to Hillary 4 years earlier, and I don't think she was going to allow it. Good for her. She stood up for herself.
Did you see that interview where they asked her, would you say to him if he started creeping on you the way that Hillary was menacing on the stage?
This isn't going to be that type. This is like a highly structured one where, they have their own compartments, basically. It's not like a center stage. That was a unique moment.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. But what she said, her response is, I would have looked over and said, why are you being such a creep? Like, if Hillary had done, and I don't know that Hillary has the personality that would play that way, but Kamala does. If that person did that, if Kamala, if he did that and Kamala responded that way, it would be perceived entirely different.
That's like saying to somebody, if Kamala says, Donald, you're weird. If she says that is the end of the debate, because just like Clown House, at the end of every room on this app, it ends with somebody saying, that's weird. That's when there's no more factual information or education to bring forth. That's weird.
Well, let me jump in. So as far as the muted mics, it came out in public that she didn't want muted mics. I think she really did. He played right into her hands. She don't want to give him free space to speak himself. I thought that was a brilliant move on her part, to be honest with you. Morning, Dr. Jordan. I know it's early where you're at. I don't know if you're up or not. Jordan?
I'm getting there. Good morning, man.
Muted mics favors Donald.
How does it favor Donald Trump?
Because it's a question of upload and download, meaning that it's a question of time and words per minute. Donald is a faster speaker word per minute. That means he can transmit more information to the listeners than Kamala can.
What's funny, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying just in general. People act like she has no experience debating, she has no experience in politics, she has no experience in all this other stuff. She has quite a bit of experience, more than me, more than you. I think she's going to do well, and I think tonight's debate is really going to settle who's going to win the election.
Yeah, I agree. It's finally, Darth Vader versus the Emperor. I mean, but again, I think it does come down to who provides more education and information to the public. It's not about your emotions, your political position, or how, sassy you can be. It's really about, I think Donald, after listening to that New York Economic Club debate or conversation, that one question at the very end where she says, what are you going to do about childcare? He's like, sweetheart, we got bigger issues than childcare, but we're going to fix that too. So that's where, Trump really does have 4 years. Like Trump, in my opinion, all the fake news is not going to burst that bubble, because it could be a destiny thing where it is Trump's destiny to become president again, but it could be Kamala's destiny. Who knows? That's the beauty of this whole, dinner. I mean, it's going to be an exciting event in American history.
I also think that tonight's debate will be the only debate we see, because whoever wins the debate will be smart not to debate again. Take the W and walk away. Why would you walk to alliance that again? Now Trump has ego, so he may be like, all right, let's do another debate. But if she wins, there's no point in her going back.
Yeah, and she won't, because once she frames it once, that's all you need. You don't need to reframe it a second time to give the opponent more content, because this is a highly clipped event. I mean, I'll be sitting here with multiple phones hitting 60 seconds, 60 seconds, and clipping it and clipping it and clipping it, because when you break it down into 60-second snippets, that's the frame. And then there's everything else is irrelevant compared to that 60-second clip, and then you can jump around. So
Well,
this is a 60-second event.
if she was smart, and she is smart, I'm really hoping that she puts some distance between her and Joe Biden. If she can go up there and say, me and Joe did this, me and Joe did, she has to show that she's an independent person. She thinks for herself. And I wouldn't stand on Biden's record on some things. And that's what Trump's gonna do. He's gonna point out that they're a team. It's both their fault. We're at with immigration and the fentanyl problem in America. And I think she needs to point out that he is actually a convict. So that's just my opinion.
She needs to show her strength, and she needs to call him a fraud and a scam artist. Those are two very destructive words, very slanderous. And it's not illegal in a political campaign and in this death match fight to say he's lying, he's a fraud, he's a scammer. When you say things like that and you neurolinguistically program the population with those words, you will win. But I don't think she's smart enough to be that sadistic. I don't think she is. I think she's actually probably a pretty nice person and a normal person for the most part.
I think she learned her lesson the last time she ran as president, and the last time she debated, and we see that difference in her campaign. I actually will disagree with you that this is not about information. If this election was about providing people with information, the last debate would not have resulted in Kamala being the nominee. I think that this election is highly emotional, and how people feel about the direction of the country. I think that if she can evoke power, if she can evoke some sense of optimism, if she can evoke a different kind of outlook for things, then I think she moves people. I think people are looking to be moved.
But these are very intellectual debates. The information the questions the moderators ask and their responses are very intelligent. You're not talking about unsophisticated people who are just trying to manipulate emotions. They're talking about facts, statistics, things on the ground. And Trump is highly versed. And all you have to do is watch that New York Economic Club policy speech to know that this fucking 78-year-old isn't some Stugats who can't cite specifics. The man has his finger on the pulse. Trump is fully aware, and all you.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Evan, hold on a second. I gotta call cap on that, bro. And I'm gonna tell you why. The dude lies about the color of the sky. Just because he spits out numbers and facts doesn't mean the numbers are correct and the facts are real. He lives in his own world. Can't breathe.
The last election was lost by Hillary, or 2 elections ago, was lost because people disliked Hillary Clinton more than they disliked Trump. It was a dislike. That's why Trump won that last time. And I would argue that Biden probably won for a similar reason. But part of that is emotions, because Hillary Clinton did not make the people in Middle America did not make them feel seen. And if Kamala can speak to that whoever can speak to that middle person and make them feel seen, that's who wins the election. I would agree with you in that the people who are asking the question are highly intellectual people. I'm going to argue. Hold on. Let me the second half of the thought. I would argue that the people who are asking the questions are highly intellectual. However, I think that the people who are watching are highly emotional about very basic information. Just basic information fed to them in a way that makes them feel good about putting dinner
our country's at. Because if you look at the actual economy, the economy is actually doing well, but people don't feel it. They don't feel good.
Well, Brandon, they don't feel it. They don't feel it because the Republicans have spun that narrative that the economy's in a tank. But I want to touch on a point. He said about Hillary. Hillary lost because she wasn't likable. That's one thing. But I also think Hillary fed into the polls, and she became raising the place. She didn't really run on a next year. I had nothing against Hillary, but I mean, I also know people that hang around her and her husband on the lives. But not only was she unlikable, she became complacent and lazy, and she believed the polls. And that's one of the reasons why she was.
Well,
I think
that there's one at this moment in which we're going to go for Brandon, don't worry. The only thing I disagree with is I don't think she was unlikable. I think because last time I checked, she won the popular vote. The only reason that Trump won was because he won the votes of the places that it mattered. So the last time I checked, it's not that she's unlikable, it's that she wasn't likable in the right places.
So yeah, I know I agree with you. Let me clarify. It wasn't about unlikable, it was about dislikable. There's a difference between being likable and there's a difference between being disliked, because there's a difference in lives itself. And her dislike number was higher than Trump's dislike number. When they study brands, you look at favorability, but you also look at how there's a whole study out there that talks about brands and like what brands are disliked. Like number one or number two on the list is Dolly Parton. It was Dell at one point. Like these kinds of things as far as brands. But so likability is one thing, but dislikability is a different thing. And she was disliked more than Trump was disliked. That would be the more appropriate way I should have said it.
I agree with that. Thank you, Brady. Hold on, actually, hold on 1 second, because I don't want to say good morning to the other moderators. Jordan, did you want to chime in, or are you still getting coffee? Dr. Jordan? All right. Normo, who has an opinion on something. He never has an opinion. What's up, Norman?
Good morning, guys. Forgive me for being so shy on Clubhouse. I do my best. What can I say? Adrian Dittman mentioned Michael Moore, and somebody else made the same joke that people dislike Hillary so much that they voted for somebody they hated even more just to say screw you to her. She was running for 25 years, ever since her husband sort of scooped her from obscurity and then propelled her first to a failed healthcare reform package, which the voters roundly rejected, and then a Senate seat in a state that she never lived in before, based on the fame of her name. So, good job to Hillary. She was pretty smart, but unlikable. For somebody who'd been voting for 25 years, she should have waltzed into office, but she was contemptuous and of half the electorate. What is she going to? Homophobes, Islamophobes, racists, and deplorables. Basket of deplorables.
Some of them are wrong.
Of course. As somebody once said on both sides, I mean, if you want to go from Antifa to the Proud Boys, I put them both in a basket and drown them in the river. But like some cats, that they used to do in medieval times. But anyway, the quote from Michael Moore is the evil of two lessers. So you have Tweedledee with Harris and Tweedledum with Trump. So it's going to be interesting. But this morning, I was hearing about Harris's attempt to defund ICE prior to perhaps the worst immigrant crisis in America's history. So she wanted to defund ICE in 2019. And also her advocacy of gender-changing surgery for immigrants and convict people in prison, expensive surgeries. So, I mean, I think she, at least up until this moment, has been out of touch with the mainstream of what Americans want to believe in. and maybe she'll reinvent herself this evening. So I'll end it there. Thanks.
Thank you, Mom. I'll tell you what, New York State prisoners, New York State has to pay for their transition. If they want it, New York State has to pay for it. They can't tell them no, which I think is bananas to me. I mean, each their own, but why should taxpayers pay for that? Point, Albie.
Point. Yeah, I had a try to. I hope it's not going to be as, turbulent, combative, but I'm pretty sure that it will be. Unfortunately, this is going to be another divisive day for America. Rather than a clear winner kind of showing the way. That's disturbing. Yeah, happy to be in the room. I also want to say real quick, just on the point of the dislikability of Hillary, and I think Victoria and I just mentioned it in chat that we think that looking at the year that Trump won, that was a 20-year low in voter turnout. After Trump won, we had the single highest voter turnout of all time in our country. And I think that it just goes to show if one dude can get a 20-year low voter turnout and piss that many people off to get it to be the all-time high turnout just to get the motherfucker out, I think that says something about his dislikability more than Clinton's.
I'm a positive optimist. I think no matter who wins the debate and who wins the election, America's going to be just fine. But I do not agree with communism or socialism or fascism. I think that our founding fathers and our Constitution and our Bill of Rights and a lot of other documents are being treaded upon and burned up as if they don't exist. And we are living in a cultural hypnosis communication known as the Democrat, Marxist, fascist, terrorist policy.
Nobody wants to hear that. Hold on. No, don't start with that, Adrian, please. Let's keep quietly. Adams, what's up? How you doing? You looking forward to tonight?
Yeah. Tonight is about us as Republicans, I think that Trump did a fabulous job last time. A couple of magats on this app did a wonderful job wiping the floor with PhD Kamala Harris's house last night. After seeing the talking points of people on this app that were so eager to debate these things that were so captivating over the last couple of months, if Kamala's camp is thinking that the talking points of the people who showed their ass last night on this app are going to turn voters into actual people who are going to mobilize for Kamala, that woman is, she has a bigger uphill battle, than that dusty wig sitting on top of her head. So, again, tonight is not about Republicans. Our win was several months ago when he was, debating.
Adams was in a room recently screaming out like he wants to fuck a tranny or something like that. It was the biggest projection I've ever heard. It was so gay and funny. But yeah, I don't understand why they don't view cultural Marxist hypnosis as being what's at play here. I think whenever I say the word hypnosis, it gaslights people.
The border of what? Her bedroom?
Another pets in a van.
She does well tonight. I think it's over for Trump. And let me tell you something. She's already raised over $500 million contributions.
Plus the $250 million Biden already had. She's got almost $1 billion now.
Hold on, Adrian. She does well tonight. She might do another $200 or $300 million. This debate's going to decide her campaign, her election. That's just my opinion.
This is the most expensive election in campaign industrial complex history. This is a $2 billion campaign to choose the presidency.
Okay, so Trump is running for president. Kamala's running for city dog catcher.
What does that even mean? Sorry, Trump is the dog catcher, and he's going to carry out the biggest eviction of illegal dog residents in American history if he wins.
Well, we're not sure you guys have to say tomorrow if she does well. She doesn't have to win, she just has to do well and then step on her own feet.
That's true.
Become a different person.
She just has to be positive and polite, and she wins. If she can't be positive and polite, then that's not her character, and she loses.
This is what I'm saying. When have men in America become such pussies? Do you want a free ticket to Disneyland too?
Listen, Adams, I like pussy.
How about being the best person to run the country? See, that's what I'm saying, Adrian. You need to stop looking for these people to feed you ice cream and tickle your nuts. How about results?
Stop projecting your own nut tickling on me.
Listen, you're a 40-year-old man with 50 cell phones coming here trolling on a social audio app. You think that anybody in this room gives a fuck what you have to say?
Yeah, I think some people think I'm kind of smart.
No, I really don't think that they do. I think they're being nice and they're entertaining you.
Hold on. First off, I'll say this, Adams, and I said it before you came through. Edmund's one of the smartest guys that's out when he actually gets into the conversation, he doesn't troll. So, as long as he does it and knows his bullshit and all that other stuff, all the mistake. That's like.
Sir, absolutely, Jay, and this is your room, and I definitely respect your space. But anybody who conducts themselves in the way that this man does, 50 cell phones, trolling, there's not a damn thing that he has to say that I'm going to take seriously.
Listen, I don't come on here and scream like you, Adams.
And I don't come on here to listen to your opinion. We can move on to somebody else. We need to stop centering you.
Okay, sounds good.
Adams, you got a message in the chat. So, anyway, Jordan, are you there, Jordan? Agent Dr. Jordan. He's not there. Oh, what does she have to do tonight to win the debate on?
Excuse me, I'm busy hypnotizing Dr. Jordan. That's why he's not answering. Look into my eyes.
Actually, I'm waking up.
No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't trolling. I'm just kidding.
No, I know. You're
Yeah.
cracking me up, and
Okay, good.
Adrian and Adams are cracking me up too. I'm entertained, but I'm still waking up here.
You should have lunch with Adams. You guys are in the same neighborhood.
We will.
Now, what did you ask me? What does she have to do? Oh, sorry, go
Dr.
ahead,
Jordan and I both have homes by the end of the day. A lot of us Californians, while we're very excited about the election, a lot of people are actually fighting for their homes right now. Please send out thoughts and prayers to people of Southern California. A lot of them can't even restart their homeowners insurance because of the state of emergency right now. So I just wanted to add that context as people are celebrating for the debate. A lot of people won't wake up to homes tomorrow.
What happened? Is it raining there or something?
There's a fire.
Really?
San Bernardino County, LA County, part of Orange County. Actually, not too far away from where my mom is buried, there's a fire burning in Tribuco Canyon. So there's going to be Republicans that are okay. It happens. So Republicans.
It happens. Sorry, Adams, we didn't know your mom's cemetery site was in the middle of a fucking fire.
You know that Orange County is actually a very red county, so before you actually say comments like that, I think you should understand the voting habits.
This is the psychopathology index of a gay, closet gay, or I guess a reformed gay. A reformed Republican. This is the psychotic index of a Republican, a log cabin Republican. Listen, I just got to say, I think log cabin Republicans are very high on the psychotic index. That's my opinion.
You also got Kamala Harris is from California, Adams.
I got it in there.
Far away from that fire circle. So, people should really think about things before they say them. I don't think that there was a soul in this country, when natural things were happening in New York, for example. You guys had your earthquake. Did you see anybody in California saying, those buildings deserve to cave in on those Democrats? Absolutely not. So this isn't a divisive political issue. California has gone through many waves, including 2 Republican governors since I've been alive. So I think that it's highly insensitive and very, very anti-human to sit here and even draw a political narrative to people losing their homes.
Was the vaccine anti-human?
That's okay. You can get stuck on the petty. I'll get stuck on the humanitarian issue.
What a humanist. You love humans, Adams, and that's why I love you.
Alright, can we stay on the debate, guys? Somebody? Anybody? No, what does she have to do to win the debate tonight?
Let me think for a second. if she could be clear, which I've never seen her be, if Trump loses it and Biden, which I think is unlikely.
The key word is transparency.
Adrian, I'm gonna move you down if you keep interrupting me. But
I think she's got a big hill to climb. Because whenever I hear her talk, she's evasive and she talks in a circle. Like, you couldn't even answer simple gimmies like, what are you going to do on the first day in office? You couldn't say anything. That's a giveaway question that Dana Bash asked. She was like, well, I'm going to start my program for the middle class of the American people. That's vague nonsense. I mean, she could have said, on day one, I'm going to issue this executive order.
Wait, hold on, don't be greedy. You're telling me you don't think Donald Trump's going to lose his temper tonight?
He did it with Biden. I was impressed with that. He just stayed very calm while Biden was just completely melting down, the poor guy. I mean, let's face it, Trump crushed him in those.
Do you think he brings up anything about being almost? Do you think he brings up anything about almost being killed?
I think he's got to be very careful with how he uses that. So far, he said he wasn't going to mention it again after the Republican National Convention. He did a 20-minute recounting of that, and I thought it was masterful. And anybody who wants to watch it, it's actually quite good. The first 23 minutes or so of that speech, which then went on for another hour unnecessarily. But he said he wasn't going to mention it anymore, so I don't know. I mean, he may have a very quick illusion. He's not going to dwell on it. I heard he's going to dwell on her lack of a record. I mean, that whole thing with the border, whatever you want to call it, Democrats are really vulnerable there. Basically, her answer is the dog ate my homework, The president gave me something to do, and I don't know what happened, but, 3.6 million more immigrants crossed the border while I was I don't know what, going and talking to Guatemala, diplomats or something. It's not, now that they're backpedaling so much. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, if anybody in this room thinks Norm is a lifelong Democrat after hearing him speak, please put a 1 in the chat. Look at Norm.
I'm a lifelong Democrat. Why can't I be critical of Democrats if I vote for them? I mean, I feel I earned the right.
No. Hold on, Mr. Green. No, you're not even mute up. We'll have a conversation, we'll have an argument, then I want to say hello to Steve. But you bash her and the Democrats. I never hear you bash Trump or the Republicans for this. It is dead underhanded bullshit.
I'll bash him right now so that you can never say that again. I think he's erratic. Excuse me. I think he's impulsive. I think he's unreliable. I think he's perfidious. I think he's treacherous. I think he's disloyal. I think he's dishonest. I think the thing he pulled on January 6th, while not criminal, was irresponsible and disqualifying. I think he helped to break our faith in the electoral process. He helped to undermine our institutions. I think he's a villain. I think he's a creep. And you heard me say, you heard me say villain before, so you did hear me say something negative about him. Now the question becomes, is he the guy that's going to solve America's problems? If he's an SOB, and maybe we need an SOB. That's what it comes down to. He seems ineffectual and ridiculous. He seems like a blank screen that they want us to project our joy and progressivism, and love of people of multi-flavors. She's a combination platter of South Asian, Black, Jamaican, woman, she's a little person apparently. She's about 4 foot nothing. That last was a joke. But we'll see. Well, you're going to see tonight. I don't think you're going to get anything different from her. So if you're willing to completely delude yourself that she can get anything done, I mean, look, somebody said before about inflation. My stuff, I have a disturbing habit. I eat every day, Jason. And don't make any comment. I know I owe you a slice for sure. But I eat every day. Now, I cook and I go out to restaurants and I order Uber Eats and all that stuff. My food costs 20% more, okay? That means if I work 5 days a week, I often work more. I'm working 1 day for nothing because this administration bungled the economy. 1 day out of the week I lose of my life because that's 50 days a year.
A girl gotta eat.
I eat all the time.
He kicked me.
I don't want to minimize that.
Communist. Communist.
Housing issue we got. Hold on, Albie, you hear me? I know you hear me.
Sorry.
It's okay. You'll get your chance, I promise. But Norm, inflation, and it is more expensive, Hope. Inflation was going to happen because of COVID, because of all the money we gave out. At some point, we were going to have to get that back into the equation. So, whoever, if Trump would have got reelected, or
That's not why we have inflation.
We're going to have to deal with
It's
inflation.
from price fixing.
So
We need price controls.
My friend Steve, who happens to be a politician. What's up, Stevie?
Hey man, how's it going?
Yeah, always happy.
All right. That was fun. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Who's next? I bet you he'll want to hear. No way, this guy's awake. This guy is on here all the time. He lives in Bolivia. Alfonso Ugarte Johnson. I bet you Bolivia is pretty nice. I bet you wherever you have large pockets of white European, people in Central America or South America, it's probably pretty nice. I googled like the top 20 towns in Brazil, and there's like towns with Italian names. It's not just the Portuguese that colonized Brazil. The Italians colonized there too. So you got a nice mix of hot, like white European chicks in South and Central America.
Man body.
Oh my God. Doc, what's a man body, bitch? Doc, it can't be a man body. It just can't. You're on ad bag. I swear to God. And I did take my.
Hello, I came to get my lick back.
So Doc, I need you to be for real. Because if it's a man body, why is my titty so big and my ass so fat?
Because you're too damn skinny and I don't like women like that.
Bitch, I don't want
She got a pretty little waist and a pretty little face.
Jam.
Hello.
But Adrian, I really need you to get your service together.
Hello. This is Clown Town. I'm the CEO. You talking to the CEO? Take it away, Mr. President.
I can't even hear nothing. Maybe you shut your little ass. That's a boy or girl.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of Clown Town, hosted by President Oscar of Clown Town. Go to clownpodcast.com to see the recording of you, a clown. They kicked me. Hello, I want to say that I cannot stand duplicitous people, and I also don't like people that duplicate and replicate and constantly repeat themselves. It's making me go crazy. Hello? Hello?
Instead of fight with another woman, okay, I can't take this.
Are you angry?
My throat is sore after
Oh, go drink some chai. Tari mani boss panchot, go drink some chai tea and clear your throat of your vomit. Hello? Hello? Why are you so angry? Krishna is telling you. Krishna wants you to be happy. Kali wants you to be happy. Guruji wants you to be happy. Hello? Stop muting me. You got to be happy.
More than likely, you're going to fail.
Well, Steve, let me ask you this. How did Biden win the White House? Didn't he win the White House with a basement in Delaware?
Yeah, but I think we've seen this movie before, and I think Kamala's been even more elusive than Biden was. And I don't think it does anybody any favors by avoiding hard questions. And when you take hard questions, you.
My bad. I take that back. My bad. I made a mistake. My bad. So that he had it hosted in his room, right? Because it can't. Right here. That was like, it was.
My fellow N-word, vote Trump and go to the gym, fatties. Darth Vader is dead. James Earl Jones, the Sith Lord, has been resurrected. Adrian.
Y'all know him. I ain't never seen it. No, he was doing that shit yesterday. He kept coming in the room yesterday during the debate doing that shit.
Oh, hi, JR.
But this is but it was dope, right?
JR's in my house now. JR must be a little bored with his fascism and his dictatorship. Sorry, JR. It's getting boring, isn't it? Drunk early morning. No, JR. Optimized. With my gin and my juice. We're not drinking that hard stuff. We're having a Miller Lite with a little orange juice. Is that too much to ask? Just a little bit of orange juice.
We will open a room in 6 minutes.
Oh, Uncle Steve's getting ready. Uncle Steve is coming to town.
And what is this podcast do you have returned?
Can you repeat that?
Okay, we totally maxed that bitch out. There's nothing left in these clown town rooms. So we're gonna create a room. It's called how to be greedier. How to be as greedy as possible. How to be as greedy as possible. Legally. Legally is the key term there. All right, everybody, this is Adrian Dittman, CEO of X, CEO of Tesla, CEO of The Boring Company, aka Adrian Dittman. We are in a new room called How to Be as Greedy as Possible Legally. Legally. That means as in legally. Okay? As in it's legal to be as greedy as possible. And we're going to maximize the greed legally. So this is called greed legally is the key word there. Legally greedy. Greedy, but legally. And we are going to listen to the practical rights and necessity to demand everything. But first, we will speak with our friend Daniel, where we're going to break some Israeli news. Live in an egg on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We're going to Mecca with Muhammad, on a chariot with Ezekiel and Daniel.
Well, I mean, they should research it and make sure what the pastor says is true. And if they read the Bible, they'll find that it is true. So if they parrot that, well, that's a proper message. That's exactly what the Bible says.
That his father got killed by a crackhead.
Hi, everybody. I hate to interrupt your N-word conversation, but I wanted to ask my doctor to come to my room to listen to an audiobook because you clowns and N-words in the clown town are not progressing. And President Oscar, you're fired. You're letting these clowns and N-words do whatever they want, act like a bunch of clowns and N-words. So anyways, I'm sure I'll get kicked shortly, but President Oscar, you gotta take some action. Do something with yourself. Don't let these harpies and witches, these demons that came out of a bottle, infect your mind with their bullshit. It's despicable. Look at that creature. That's an N-word creature. That is a disgusting, nasty little vomitous creature N-word. She's fucking with your brain and your time. It's like a drug for these people. Don't let them get in your brain because these little hobbits, these disgusting little trolls will live inside your brain like clockwork elves. And then you can't get them out of your head. So, anyways, I just wanted to let everybody know, keep smiling. Nothing is miserable. And the more you think, oh my God, they keep me. Okay, the one. Here we go.
Reasons why I never liked Star Trek is because it's so obviously space
This is an Issa Meyer room, the one about free speech, Candace Owens.
where the communists won on Earth and then went and changed from global communism to universal communism. And it's a show about space communists taking over the world. And because of this, I never fucking watched it. I just hated it on general principle. My brother got into it, and I started to go, you know what, let me try to watch this. And I started actually looking into Gene Roddenberry. And Gene Roddenberry wrote a book. By the way, the history of ideas, as in terms of Rand, I draw a straight line from the Stoics to Nietzsche to Rand to Robert E. Howard, who invented Conan. Okay, all of these things are in the same vein of philosophy with the same general basic assumptions. But when you look into Roddenberry, what you find out is, okay, let me explain Star Trek real quick. We live in a future where there is no more poverty, there is no more class, there is no more racism. Everything, technology has solved all of those problems, and it's just individuals kind of living in a utopian state of nature and perfect bliss and grace, kind of, because we've been freed from the human condition through technology, which to me reads as very communist. Okay, then you start looking into Roddenberry, and you realize he is a huge fucking libertarian. He wrote a book called Andromeda, and in this book, there is a planet with an alien race on it, and the name of the alien race is that they are Nietzscheans. Okay, the main spaceport on that planet of Nietzscheans is called Ayn Rand Station. In the original series of Star Trek, one of the main supporting characters is a female character, is basically kind of Captain Kirk's secretary, and her name is Yeoman Rand, right? Roddenberry and Rand were fairly close, and they spoke. They had a relationship. And what I realized through watching the original is the fruition. And Spock is the Stoic archetype. That's what Spock is. It's fucking. Star Trek is a spaceship full of human beings, like normal men, like Captain Kirk, and they have this avatar of libertarianness, of free, pure reason, this pure Stoic individual. And I see this when they confront the Romulans for the first time. They realize that they've never seen Romulans. They realize they finally see one on their view screen, and they're stunned that the Romulans look exactly like Spock. The Romulans and the Vulcans are the same people, and the Romulans are manifestly Roman. They wear Roman togas. They have the Roman golden eagle painted on their ships, and all of a sudden you realize, holy shit, Roddenberry's doing this intentionally. He understands that Spock is a Greek Stoic, and his counterpart, their evil twin brothers, are the Romans, right? They're this warlike culture that looks indistinguishable to the outsider, right? So the point I'm trying to make is this is supremely interesting to folks. This isn't a bizarre, unique idea that just I came up with. We can see thought prints throughout fiction, right?
You're making me watch now Star Trek.
But the point I'm making though is about the horseshoe theory, right? You have this kind of manifestly anti-communist philosophy, but what is it? It's utopian. It's supposedly universally scientific. It's atheistic. It's at a certain point you have to look in the mirror and see that if you're an objectivist, you think you're Spock, but you're actually a Romulan. You're the same fucking guys.
I love it.
I didn't think we'd go there today.
This is amazing. No, you know what? I was texting you privately, Meyer. I'm ready to move from the fucking Palestinians, you know?
This is natural science or philosophy. Welcome to academia and intellectualism.
No, yeah, I enjoy this conversation. The thing is that at some point I was learning, a lot about Muslims and whatever, but it's just so fucking low IQ. So yeah, make sure.
There is no argument. I think if they had an argument and if it evolved into something, I find it. But it's the same five people that say the same stuff things over and over.
Yeah.
Well, it has to do with semantic comprehension. Apparently, like, the semantic memory is, like, I think, learning about stuff like this. So, people in this room, I'm sure that we didn't just, like, come across this material last night. And it's been a long process of learning that built semantic memory and semantic comprehension. And so some people are just limited by the lack of knowledge of meanings of words and the little words that they know. This is why some people actually lash out on the app and just get frustrated emotionally because they don't actually, they perhaps might not even have the words to communicate effectively how they feel.
Yeah, but also it's a matter of the context too, because so when we're having, for example, a Palestine, Israel, whatever, it just becomes a more emotional and political conversation rather than a philosophical one. And the people that get to be interested in those types of conversations, they are not exploring different ideas. They just want to make an argument that wins, and then that becomes frustrating. And so, when, for example, I know that you try to come to a conversation with like an opening of the view, like okay, let's consider this, let's consider that. But when you do that in such a context, it's just back because the people are not in that mindset, in that space.
But it goes both ways. It's moderators, speakers, and then audience. And so a lot of the moderators on this app, their titles are irrelevant. It's really like the Uncle Steve, how angry can we make Uncle Steve show? Because it's to your detriment as a moderator to get angry. Like when I get kicked, I call people fascists. When I get kicked to the goo, I call people communists.
And you're about to get
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go soon. Also, this conversation is kind of boring. Like, what I find very interesting is I came to Ayn Rand fairly late in my like philosophical understanding, and I'm definitely not as versed in I'm definitely not as versed in like Greek philosophy as you are. Like Stoicism is pretty famous, but Diogenes, like, I'm gonna have to look it up exactly what he said. But I did not get some of the mistakes that you're pointing out. Like I think I got the quicker because I mean I was coming from a fairly libertarian view, but not an absolute libertarian to begin with. And I think she was pretty like explicit about not making a utopian like perfect maybe a perfect society, yes, in Atlas Shrugged, but it stops at the moment that they go back to create the society. It doesn't have a perfect society, and the perfect society that she does build is not. And the perfect man struggles harshly in it. And again, it has a fictional like happy ending. Like you can easily see multiple ways that it doesn't have to.
Listen, the cult of Ayn Rand ain't shit to Maimonides, all right? All these Ayn Rand libertarian faggots need to read Maimonides, and then we'll talk some shit.
Mike, I don't think that you need to tighten your delivery, tighten up your delivery. I think it's actually very good because at least that's how my brain works. I am following your narrative, and it's not just expecting you to get to the end of your argument, but it's actually showing the thinking process, and I think that that's super valuable. So please do not feel like you have to shorten your argument.
Well, it would be impossible to do. I have like it's a Gestalt way of thinking, and like they have a term for it now, and like news anchors will develop an idea and then say put a pin in that, and then they'll talk about something else. Like I have to set up the whole dinner table of all of these different courses
like the idea. So I find that valuable. That's how I learn.
Have you guys heard this my shtick on Conan and Robert E. Howard and all of this? Are you interested?
Where are you?
So, like the 10 peso version of each is the Conan movies. And
Conan, what is best in life?
yeah, to crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, to hear the lamentations of them.
Yes, this is right, Conan.
Yeah, and so anyway, I'm getting derailed now. But and interestingly, the guy who wrote Conan, I believe the first one, Conan the Barbarian, you might have written all of them, is a guy named John Milius. Now, John Milius is famous in Hollywood for he also wrote Dirty Harry and most of the most masculine kind of borderline fascist movies in the 70s and 80s, and he's a notorious, he's like an arch libertarian, right? In the 70s, he would get paid to write these movies. He would get paid in guns, bullets, and cocaine. Like, he wouldn't accept dollars as payment. So, like, these ideas work through people, and I forget which of the Conan movies it is, but at the end of one of them, Conan's god is Crom, and he's the god of strength, and as such, you cannot pray to Crom. There's no religious ritual surrounding the worship of Crom. It's basically stoicism. Crom is the god of strength, and asking him for anything would be to show weakness, and therefore you never pray to Crom, right? So at the very end of the movie, Conan is in like the flats, right, like Mongolian area, and he's in a little outcropping, just him and one friend, and all of the bad guys are coming on horseback, and Conan finally prays, and it's like the most Nietzschean, Randian fucking prayer you've ever heard in your life. He says, Crom, I've never prayed to you before. I have no tongue for it. No one will ever know why we fought, or if we won, or if we lost. And none of that even matters. All that matters is that you give me the strength to get revenge. And if you do not, to hell with you. And that is his prayer to Crom. That's like Conan's arc, is that he finally prays to the Nietzschean god.
Don't forget James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones just died yesterday, and this man played the voice of a white boy android, and everybody, nobody ever complained that Darth Vader was cultural appropriation. An amalgamation of a dead little young white boy turned into an android Sith Lord with the voice of James Earl Jones. I'm just saying. Wait, Mike, tell them about the riddle of steel. Tell them about the riddle of steel and what that means.
I'm getting confused by Adrian. What do you mean about, like, more? You said he deviated from Rand in multiple ways. Well, apparently him and Rand, like, they started off like kindred spirits, and then, like, a lot of libertarians are like, that's kind of like the fall from the Eden of the early libertarian movement, was that it split into Rothbard versus Rand, and all that type of thing. But Rothbard was, in a weird way,
Okay, this is the ethical writings of Maimonides, Moses ben Maimon, edited by Raymond L. Weiss, with Charles Butterworth, read by Adrian Dittman. The first chapter on the soul of man and its powers. Know that the soul of man is a single soul. It has many different actions, some of which are sometimes called souls. One might therefore think, as the physicians do, that man has many souls. Oh, Chris, I checked out Yugo or whatever. I downloaded it, and I couldn't make any connections, and there was no interaction. The app did not work for me, so I deleted it. But I did download it because I was like, oh, cool, maybe I can, hypnotize a lot of people. But it did not work. We are reading Maimonides. Even the most eminent physicians stated that there are three souls: natural, vital, and psychic. These are sometimes called powers and parts, so that one speaks of the parts of the soul. This terminology is frequently used by the philosophers. By saying parts, they do not mean that the soul is divided into parts as bodies are divided into parts. Indeed, they regard the different actions of the totality of the soul as parts of a whole, composed of those parts. You know that the improvement of moral habits is the same as the cure of the soul and its powers. The doctor who cures bodies needs first to know in its entirety the body he is curing, and what the parts of the body are. I mean the body of man. And he needs to know what things make it sick, so that they may be avoided, and what things make it healthy, so that they may be pursued. Similarly, the one who treats the soul and wishes to purify moral habits needs to know the soul in its entirety and its parts, as well as what makes it sick, what makes it healthy. Therefore I say that there are 5 parts of the soul: nutritive, sentient, imaginative, appetitive, and rational. We have already indicated in this chapter that our discourse would be about the soul of man, because man's nutritive part, for example, is not the same as the nutritive part belonging to a donkey or a horse. For man is nourished by the nutritive part of the human soul. A donkey is nourished by the nutritive part of the donkey's soul, and a palm tree is nourished by the nutritive part of its soul. Now, all these individuals are said to be nourished solely due to the equivocal character of the word, not because the meaning itself is one. Likewise, an individual man and animal are said to be sentient solely due to the equivocal character of the word, not because the sensation which is in the man is the same sensation which is in the horse, nor is the sensation which is in one species the same sensation which is in another. Rather, every single species having a soul possesses a unique soul, different from the soul of another species. Certain actions necessarily stem from one soul, and other actions from another soul. See, this I think is all kind of, it is what it is. One action may resemble another action, so that the two actions are thought to be identical, even though they are not. For example, consider 3 dark places. The sun shines upon one of them, and it is illumined. The moon rises over the second place, and it is illumined. A lamp is lit in the third place, and it is illumined. Light is found in each one of them, but the reason for the first light and its cause is the sun. The cause of the second is the moon, and the cause of the third is fire. Likewise, the cause of a man's sensation is the soul of man. The cause of a donkey's sensation is the soul of a donkey, and the cause of an eagle's sensation is the soul of the eagle. There is no notion common to all of them. The sensations, except through equivocation, grasp this notion, for it is extraordinarily marvelous. Many pseudo-philosophers stumble over it, and therefore cling to repulsive views and incorrect opinions. I return to our point about the parts of the soul. I say that the nutritive part consists in the power of attracting, retaining, digesting, excreting, growing, procreating its kind, and separating mixtures so that it isolates what should be used for nourishment and what should be excreted. The discourse concerning these 7 powers, the means by which they act, how they act, in which organs their action is more obvious and evident, which powers are continuously in existence, and which ones cease at a given time, all of these necessarily belongs to the art of medicine. There is no need to go into it in this place. The sentient part of the soul consists of the 5 powers well known to the multitude: sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. The last is found in the entire surface of the body, and has no specific organ like the other 4 powers. The imaginative part is the power that preserves the impressions of sensibly perceived objects after they vanish from the immediacy of the senses that perceive them. Some impressions are combined with others, and some are separated from others, therefore. From things it has perceived, this power puts together things it has not perceived at all, and which are not possible for it to perceive. For example, a man imagines an iron ship floating in the air, or an individual whose head is in the heavens and whose feet are on the earth, or an animal with 1,000 eyes. The imaginative power puts together many such impossible things and makes them exist in the imagination. Concerning this point, the dialectical theologians committed a great repulsive error, upon which they laid the foundation of the erroneous view concerning the division of the necessary, the admissible, and the impossible. They thought or made people fancy the everything that can be imagined as possible. They did not know that this power combines things whose existence is impossible, as we have mentioned. The appetitive part is the power by which a man desires or is repulsed by a certain thing. From this power originate such actions as seeking something or fleeing from it, as well as being attracted to something or avoiding it, rage and agreeableness, fear, boldness, cruelty and compassion, love and hatred, and many such disturbances of the soul. This power uses all the organs of the body as instruments. For example, the power of the hand for hitting, the power of the foot for walking, the power of the eye for seeing, the power of the heart for being bold, fearful. Likewise, the rest of the organs, both internal and external, and the powers are instruments for the appetitive power. Again, it says here, from this power originate such actions as seeking something or fleeing from it, as well as being attracted to something or avoiding it. Rage and agreeableness, fear and boldness. I think the rage and agreeableness are the 2 big things that I notice here in Clubhouse, which is rage and lack of agreeableness or agreeability. The rational part is the power found in man by which he perceives intelligibles, deliberates, acquires the sciences, and distinguishes between base and noble actions. Some of these activities are practical and some are theoretical. Of the practical, some are productive and some are reflective. By means of the theoretical, man knows the essence of the unchanging beings. These theoretical activities are called sciences without qualification. The productive is the power by means of which we acquire occupations, such as carpentry, agriculture, medicine, and navigation. The reflective is that by which one deliberates about a thing he wishes to do at the time he wishes to do it, whether it is possible to do it or not, and if it is possible, how it should be done. This is the extent to which the topic of the soul ought to be discussed here. Know that this single soul, whose powers or parts are described above, is like matter. The intellect is its form. If it does not attain its form, the existence of its capacity to receive this form is for naught, and is as it were futile. This is the meaning of his Solomon's statement. Indeed, without knowledge, a soul is not good. He means that the existence of a soul that does not attain its form, that is rather a soul without knowledge, is not good. This is not the place for a discourse about form, matter, or how many intellects there are, and how they are attained. It is not indeed for the discourse we wish to present about ethics, but is more appropriate for the book of prophecy, which we have mentioned. Here I terminate this chapter and begin another, the second chapter on the disobedience of the soul's powers and on knowledge of the part in which the virtues and the vices are primarily found. No, the disobedience and obedience of the law are found only in two parts of the soul, namely the sentient part and the appetitive part. All the transgressions and the commandments involve these two parts. There is no obedience or disobedience in the nutritive or imaginative parts, since thought and choice do not act upon them at all. By his thought, man is not able to suspend their action or to limit them to a certain action. Do you not see that these two parts, the nutritive and the imaginative, are active during sleep unlike the other powers of the soul? Although there is perplexity concerning the rational part, I say that this power too may bring about obedience and disobedience, namely belief in a false or a true opinion. But there is no act in it to which the terms commandment or transgression would apply. Therefore I said in what has preceded that the transgressions and the commandments found in those two parts is for the virtues. There are two kinds, moral virtue and rational virtue. Opposed to them are two kinds of vices. The rational virtues are found in the rational part. Among them are wisdom, which is knowledge of the remote and proximate causes, and which comes after knowledge of the existence of the thing whose causes are being investigated, and intelligence, which includes the theoretical intellect, the first intelligibles, which we have by nature, the acquired intellect, but this is not the place for that, and brilliance, and excellent comprehension, that is excellent grasp of the thing. Quickly, in no time, or in a very short time, the vices of this power are the contrary of these or their opposite. The moral virtues are found only in the appetitive part, and the sentient part is in this case a servant of the appetitive part. The virtues of this part are very numerous, for example, moderation, liberality, justice, gentleness, humility, contentment, courage, and others. The vices of this part consist in being deficient or excessive with regards to these things. Neither virtue nor vice is ascribed to the nutritive and imaginative parts. Rather, one says that they flow properly or improperly, just as one says that a given man's digestion is excellent, has stopped, or is impaired, or that his imagination is impaired or flows properly. There is neither virtue nor vice in any of these things. This is what we wish to set down in this chapter. And the third chapter on the diseases of the soul. The ancients said the soul can be healthy or sick, just as the body can be healthy or sick. The health of the soul consists in its condition, that of its parts being such that it always does good, and fine things, and performs noble actions. Its sickness consists in its condition, and that of its parts being such that it always does bad and ugly things and performs base actions. The health and sickness of the body are investigated by the art of medicine. Now, due to the corruption of their senses, people with sick bodies imagine the sweet is bitter and the bitter is sweet. They fancy that what is suitable is not suitable. They strongly desire and take great pleasure in things that contain no pleasure at all for the healthy, and which may even be painful, such as eating clay, charcoal, dirt, and things which are extremely pungent and sour, as well as similar foods, which the healthy do not desire but loathe. You might talk about vaccines. In like manner, people
with sick souls, I mean bad and defective men. Imagine bad things as good and good things as bad. Bad always. The bad man always has a desire for ends that are in truth bad. Because of the sickness of his soul, he imagines them to be good. When sick people not proficient in the art of medicine become aware of their illness, they seek out the physicians. They, the physicians, inform them of what they need to do, prohibit them from taking what they imagine to be pleasurable, and compel them to take vile, bitter things which will heal their bodies so that they will again delight in pleasant things and loathe vile things. Similarly, those with sick souls need to seek out the wise men who are the physicians of the soul. The latter will prohibit the bad things which they, the sick, think are good, and treat them by means of the art that treats the moral habits of the soul, as we shall explain in the next chapter. Those with sick souls who do not recognize their illness, but imagine they are healthy, or who recognize it but do not submit to medical treatment, will meet the fate of the sick man, who pursues his pleasures and does not submit to medical treatment. He will undoubtedly perish. Those who recognize their illness and pursue the pleasures are spoken about in the true scripture, which describes them as saying, "For in the stubbornness of my heart I walk." He intends to quench his thirst, but he actually increases it. Those who do not recognize their illness are described by Solomon in many places. He said, "The way of the fool is straight in his eyes, but he who listens to counsel is wise." He means the man who accepts the opinion of the wise man, who informs him of the way which is truly straight, not the one he supposes to be straight. And he, Solomon, said, "There is a way which seems straight to a man, but its end is the ways of death." He said of those whose souls are sick and who do not know what is harmful or useful to them, "The way of the wicked is like darkness. They know not why they stumble." The art of the medical treatment for the soul is as I shall describe it in the 4th chapter. The 4th chapter on medical treatment for the diseases of the soul. Good actions are those balanced in the mean between two extremes, both of which are bad. One of them is an excess, and the other is deficiency. The virtues are states of the soul and settled dispositions in the mean between two bad states of the soul, one of which is excessive and the other deficient. Certain actions necessarily result from these states of the soul. For example, moderation is the moral habit in the mean between the good actions, and the state of the soul that produces moderation is a moral virtue. Lust is the first extreme, and total insensibility to pleasure the other extreme. Both of them are completely bad. The two states of the soul necessarily giving rise to lust, the excessive state, and insensibility, the deficient state, are both moral vices. In like manner, liberality is the mean between miserliness and extravagance. Courage is the mean between rashness and cowardice. Wit is the mean between buffoonery and dullness. Humility is the mean between haughtiness and abasement. Generosity is the mean between prodigality and stinginess. Contentment is the mean between greed and laziness. Gentleness is the mean between irascibility and servility. Modesty is the mean between impudence and shyness. And so too with the rest of them. If the meanings are understood, it is not absolutely necessary that names be assigned to them. People often err concerning these actions and think that one of the two extremes is good and a virtue of the soul. Sometimes they think the first is good, as when they think rashness is a virtue and call rash men courageous. If they see an exceedingly rational person in a perilous situation who intentionally throws himself into danger but is saved by chance, they praise him for it and call him courageous. Sometimes they think the other extreme is good and say that someone who depreciates himself is gentle, or that a lazy man is contented, or that someone insensible to pleasure because of the dryness of his nature is moderate. Due to this kind of error, they also think that extravagance and prodigality are among the praiseworthy actions. Now all this is erroneous, for in truth one praises the mean, and a man needs to aim at it and continuously weigh all his actions with a view to this mean. Know that these moral virtues and vices are acquired and firmly established in the soul by frequently repeating the actions pertaining to a particular moral habit over a long period of time, and by our becoming accustomed to them. If those actions are good, we shall acquire the virtue. If they are bad, we shall acquire the vice, since by nature man does not possess either virtue or vice at the beginning of his life. As we shall explain in the 8th chapter, he undoubtedly is habituated from childhood to actions in accordance with his family's way of life and that of the people of his town. These actions may be in the mean excessive or defective, as we have indicated. Should his soul become sick, he must follow the same course in treating it as in the medical treatment for bodies. For when the body gets out of equilibrium, we look to which side it inclines in becoming unbalanced and then oppose it with its contrary until it returns to equilibrium. When it is in equilibrium, we remove the counterbalance and revert to that which keeps the body in equilibrium. Oh, our doctor is here. Speak of the devil! My doctor has arrived, and we're reading about a doctor, actually. I'll take a break here. Doctor, how are you?
Oh, it's good, man.
We're reading about medicine for the soul.
I was laughing my ass off with what you were saying in the last room. I won't repeat it because your room plays are on, so.
Thank you.
I know you want to try to keep it PG.
Yeah, definitely.
But, dude, that was, you had me dying laughing.
Oh, man.
Dude.
Gotta call an N-word creature for what it is, man. Fucking.
Dude, yeah, but I wasn't saying word.
Yeah, I know, but, we have to have some compassion because they are infected and their souls are sick. As we have just learned from Maimonides, their towns are sick, their families are sick, they are sick. And they were not born with books and wisdom and intelligence to help them rise above this crude manifestation of the N-word. And I am a K word, or at least half of a K, a patrilineal K. Anyways, what are you doing today?
Not a whole lot. I'm still going through a heartache of yesterday.
What happened?
I got rid of both GTRs and one S13. And, yeah, lots of money, blah, blah, blah. But, like, now that the projects are gone, like, I'm kind of heartbroken because I think about them all the time.
Your cars? Yeah, isn't that funny? I was thinking about that recently. I was like, I love my car, and that if I love my car, that means that people really love their car. But what do they love? They love their chariot, their protection bubble, their third space.
Well, for me, it was independence.
Oh, I see. You can't drive because of the DUI charges.
Well, no, I mean, like, as a child growing up, when I got my first car when I was 15 and I was able to start driving when I was 16, like, it was a way to leave my family and go do what I wanted to do.
I'm gonna go pack my pipe. I'll be right back.
To drive me to the mall or some shit like that. You know what I mean? But it was independence, based on what I wanted, not what I had to ask other people permission for. That's what the automobile represents to me. Plus, I started racing really young on.
Well, this is the thing about cars is cars are ancient technology at this point because with world telephony and communication, the world comes to you. You don't actually need a vehicle chariot to go to the world anymore because of communication. you technically have the world at your fingertips now. And so your way of thinking is emotional thinking. It's not pragmatic, practical thinking. Well, you're going to have to learn yoga, my friend.
Fuck that shit. I'll build myself a car from scratch.
Well, I'm just telling you, working on your body is more important than working on a car.
Dude, I don't have gout. Don't talk to me about nutrition.
Well, we were just reading about the nutritive soul. What are you adding to your soul, sir? I am a doctor of the soul. You are a doctor of the body. I mean, we'll have to create an equilibrium.
I'm not a doctor of the body.
Well, I'm making you a doctor of the body.
No, I've never given medical advice. I'll give medical questions.
Exactly.
But I'm not trying to give medical advice. Never have.
Okay, listen to this. This is some medical advice for the soul.
No. Alright, fine. You don't want me to talk with you. Fine. Turn it on.
Should Dr. Soul become sick on Clown House and he should become sad because he lost his cars which took him to the mall, he must follow the same course in treating it as the medical treatment for bodies. For when the body gets out of equilibrium, and you sell your cars and you get sad, we look to which side it inclines in becoming unbalanced, and then oppose it with its contrary
Smoking crack must feel like.
until it returns to equilibrium. When it is in equilibrium, we remove that counterbalance and revert to that which keeps the body in equilibrium. We act in a similar manner with regard to moral habits. We may, for example, see a man whose soul has reached a condition in which he is miserly toward himself. This is one of the vices of the soul, and the action he performs is one of the bad actions,
Please stop reading AI.
as we have explained in this chapter. Thus, doctor, if we wanted to give medical treatment to this sick person who lost his cars and is sad now, we would not order him to be liberal. That would be like using a balanced course for treating someone whose fever is excessive. This would not cure him of his sickness. Indeed, this man with a miserly soul needs to be made to be extravagant time after time. He must repeatedly act in an extravagant manner until the condition that makes him miserly is removed from his soul, and he just about acquires an extravagant disposition or comes close to it. Then we would make him stop the extravagant actions and order him to perform liberal actions continually. He must always adhere to this course and not go toward the excessive or deficiencies. Similarly, if we were to see him acting in an extravagant manner, we would order him to perform miserly actions repeatedly. But we would not make him repeat miserly actions as many times as we made him repeat extravagant actions. This subtlety is the rule of therapy and is its secret. For a man can more easily turn from extravagance to liberality than from miserliness to liberality. Likewise, it is easier to turn from being insensible to pleasure to being moderate than from being lustful to being moderate. Therefore, we make the lustful man repeat actions which lack pleasure, more than we make the insensible man repeat lustful actions. We require the coward to practice rashness more than we require the rash man to practice cowardice. And we train the stingy man in prodigality more than we train the prodigal man in stinginess. This is the rule for the medical treatment of moral habits, so memorize it. Because of this teaching, the virtuous man would not let a disposition of the souls remain in the mean, but would incline a little toward the excess, or the defect as a precaution. I mean, they would, for example, incline from moderation a little toward insensibility to pleasure, from courage a little toward rashness, from generosity a little toward prodigality, from humility a little toward abasement, and likewise the rest, as is being expressed in the saying, inside the line of the law. What the virtuous men did at certain times, and also what some individuals among them always did in inclining toward one extreme, for example, fasting, rising at night, abstaining from eating meat and drinking wine, keeping away from women, wearing garments of wool and hair, dwelling on mountains, and secluding themselves in desolate places. They did only with a view to medical treatment, as we have indicated. Again, if they saw that due to the corruption of the people of the city they would be corrupted through contact with them and through seeing their deeds, and that social intercourse with them would bring about the corruption of their own moral habits, then they would withdraw to desolate places where there are no evil men, as the prophet said, peace be upon him. Oh, that I were in the desert. When the ignorant saw these virtuous men perform such actions, but without knowing their intention, they thought those actions to be good and aimed at performing them, claiming to be like those virtuous men. They set about afflicting their bodies with every kind of affliction, thinking they were acquiring virtue, and doing something good, and would thereby come near to God, as if God were an enemy of the body, and desired its ruin and destruction. They were not aware that those actions are bad, and that one of the vices of the soul is thereby acquired. Such men can only be compared to someone ignorant of the art of medicine, who sees that skillful physicians have given deathly sick people the pulp of colocynth, scammony, aloe, and similar things to drink, while forbidding them any food, and that they are cured of the disease and completely escape destruction. Such an ignorant man then says, since these things cure disease, it is even more appropriate and fitting that they preserve or augment the health of a healthy man. He therefore proceeds to take them continuously, follows the regimen of the sick. As a result, he undoubtedly becomes sick. Similarly, those with sick souls are undoubtedly so from taking medication while they are healthy. This perfect law, which perfects us, makes no mention of such things, as the psalmist who knew it testified about it. The law of the Lord is perfect, making wise the simple, restoring the soul. Indeed, its goal is for man to be natural by following the middle way. He shall adhere to the mean when he eats whatever is his to eat, when he drinks whatever is his to drink, and when he has sexual intercourse with whomever is his to have sexual intercourse. He shall dwell in the city and follow justice and equity. Equity? Oh God! He shall not inhabit caves or mountains, nor wear garments of hair and wool, nor torment his body, or make it weary or afflicted. That is forbidden in the tradition which has come down to us. He, God, said about the Nazarite, he, the priest, shall make atonement for him, because he sinned against the soul. They said, now then, against which soul did he sin? His own, because he withheld himself from wine. Is there not here an argument from the lesser to the greater? If whoever afflicts himself regarding wine needs atonement, how much the more does the one who afflicts himself regarding everything need atonement? In the traditions of our prophets, and those who transmit our law, we see these wise men aiming at the mean, preserving their souls and bodies in accordance with that what the law requires. God, may he be exalted, answered through his prophet those who asked if they should continue fasting one day in the year or not. They said to Zechariah,
Should I weep in the 5th month, separating myself as I have done for so many years? And he answered them, when you fasted and mourned in the 5th and in the 7th month, these 70 years, did you at all fast unto me, even unto me? And when you eat and you drink, are you not the ones who eat and who drink? Then he commanded them to follow only the mean in virtue, and not to fast. This is what he said to them. Thus spoke the Lord of hosts, saying, execute true judgment, show loving kindness and compassion, every man to his brother. After that he said, thus says the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, the fast of the 5th, the fast of the 7th, the fast of the 10th should be for the house of Judah. Joy and gladness and cheerful seasons, love, truth, and peace. Know that truth refers to the rational virtues, because they are immutably true, as we have mentioned in the 2nd chapter, and that peace refers to the moral virtues, through which there is peace in the world. I return to my purpose. If it be said by the men of our law, who imitate the other religious communities, and I speak only to them, that they torment their bodies and renounce their pleasures, only to discipline the powers of the bodies so as to incline a little to one side in the way we have explained in this chapter, that a man ought to do, this is an error on their part, as we shall explain. The law forbids what it forbids, and commands what it commands, only for this reason, that we move away from one side as a means of the discipline. God therefore enjoined the following upon us: the prohibition of all forbidden foods, the prohibition of forbidden sexual intercourse, the ban concerning the prostitute, the requirement of a marriage contract and betrothal, and even so sexual intercourse, not always being permitted but forbidden during the periods of menstruation and birth, and the further limitation upon sexual intercourse instituted by our elders, who prohibited it during the daytime, as we explained in Sanhedrin. The purpose of all this is that we move very far away from the extreme of lust, go a little from the mean toward insensibility to pleasure, so that the state of moderation be firmly established within our souls. The same applies to everything occurring in the law, with respect to the paying of tithes, the gleanings of the harvest, the forgotten sheaves, the corner of the field, the fallen grapes, the gleanings of the vineyard, the decree of the sabbatical year, and the jubilee year. In charity sufficient for what the needy lack, these come close to prodigality, so that we move very far away from the extreme of stinginess and approach the extreme prodigality. The purpose being to establish generosity firmly within us. If you consider most of the commandments in this way, you will find that all of them discipline the powers of the soul. For example, they eliminate revenge and vengeance by his saying, you shall not take revenge, nor bear a grudge. You shall surely release it. You shall surely help to lift them up. These aim at weakening the power of rage and irascibility or rascality. Similarly, you shall surely bring them back, aims at removing the state of avarice. Similarly, the following aim at removing the state of impudence and instilling that of modesty. You shall rise before the aged and honor the old man, honor your father. You shall not turn aside from the thing they shall tell you. Moreover, he also moves us away from the other extreme, shyness,
For in order that shyness be eliminated and we remain in the middle way, he said, you shall surely rebuke your neighbor and not bear sin because of him, and you shall not fear the face of any man. Only a manifestly ignorant individual would come and wish to add to these things, and for example, prohibit eating and drinking in addition to the stipulated prohibition about food, and prohibit marriage, in addition to what is prohibited concerning sexual intercourse, and give all of his money to the poor or to the temple property, in addition to what the law says about charity, temple properties and valuations. His actions are bad, and he does not know that he goes all the way to one extreme, completely leaving the mean. The sages have a statement about the subject in Jerusalem Talmud, in the 9th tractate of Nedarim, and nothing more marvelous than it has yet reached me. They censor those who become like prisoners by imposing oaths and vows on them, and they literally say there, Rav Aidi said in the name of Rabbi Itzhak, is what the Torah is prohibited for you not enough? That you prohibit other things for yourself? This is precisely the meaning we have presented, neither more nor less. Thus it has become clear to you, from everything we have discussed in this chapter, that it is necessary to aim at the mean in actions and not depart from it toward one of the two extremes, except with a view to medical treatment and to opposing something with its contrary. When the man, knowledgeable in the art of medicine, sees his temperament changing ever so slightly, he does not neglect the disease and let it take possession of him, so that he would need an extremely strong medicine. When he knows that one of his bodily organs is weak, he takes continual care of it, avoids things harmful to it, and aims at what is useful to it, so that this organ becomes healthy, or so that it does not become weaker. Similarly, the perfect man needs to inspect his moral habits continually, weigh his actions, and reflect upon the state of his soul every single day. Whenever he sees his soul inclining toward one of the extremes, he should rush to cure it, and not let the evil state become established by the repetition of a bad action, as we have mentioned. Thus, as we have said above, he should attend to the defective moral habit in himself and continually seek to cure it, for a man inevitably has defects. Indeed, the philosophers have said that it would be very difficult to find someone disposed by nature toward all of the moral and rational virtues. This has also been said frequently in the books of the prophets. He said, behold, he puts no trust in his servants. And how can one born of woman be just? Solomon said, absolutely. There is no man who is just upon the earth, who does only good and does not sin. You know that God, may he be exalted, said to the master of the first and the last men, Moses, our master, peace be upon him, because you did not believe in me to sanctify me, because you rebelled against my word, because you did not sanctify. His sin, peace be upon him, in all this was that he inclined toward one of the two extremes, away from one of the moral virtues, gentleness. When he inclined toward irascibility, he said, here now, you rebels. God disapproved of a man like him becoming irascible in the presence of the community of Israel, when irascibility was not proper. For this individual, something like that was a profanation of the name, because they would imitate his every movement and speech, and would wish thereby to attain the happiness of this world and the other world. How could irascibility, which, as we have explained, is among the bad actions, stem from him and not originate from one of the evil states of the soul? We shall now explain the significance of his saying, you rebelled against my
word. He, Moses, was not addressing the vulgar, no men without virtue, but people the least significant of whose women was like Ezekiel of Ben Butzi, as the sages have mentioned. They would reflect upon everything he would say or do. Thus, when they saw him irate, they in effect said, "He, peace be upon him, has no moral vice. And if it were not that he knew God has become angry with us about our searching for water, that we have exasperated him, may he be exalted, he would not have become irate. We do not find that God, may he be exalted, was irate or angry when he spoke to Moses about this matter. Rather, he said to him, Take the rod, and ye shall give the congregation and their cattle drink. We have departed from the purpose of the section, but we have solved one of the difficulties of the Torah. It is often spoken about, and someone often asks, what sin did he commit? Examine what we have said and what others have said about it, and the truth will lead the way. I return to my purpose. If a man continually weighs his actions and aims at the mean, he is in the highest of human ranks. That way he will come close to God, and will obtain what belongs to him. This is the most perfect of the ways of worship. The sages, may their memory be blessed, referred to this goal, commented on it, and said, everyone who appraises his past merits and sees the salvation of the Holy One, blessed be he, as it is said. And to him who sets his ways aright will I show the salvation of God. Do not read Wissam Derek, but Wisham Derek. Shumma means assessing and appraising, and this is precisely the meaning that we have explained in this entire chapter. This is the extent of what we saw to be necessary with respect to this subject. The 5th chapter, on directing the powers of the soul toward a single goal. Man needs to subordinate all his soul's powers to thought in the way we set forth in the previous chapter, to set his sight on the single goal, the perception of God. May he be glorified and magnified, I mean knowledge of him, insofar as that lies within man's power. He should direct all his actions, both when in motion and in rest, and all his conversation toward this goal, so that none of his actions in any way frivolous. I mean an action not leading to this goal. For example, he should make his aim only the health of his body when he eats, drinks, sleeps, and his sexual intercourse, is awake, and is in motion or at rest. The purpose of his body's health is that the soul find its instruments healthy and sound in order, that it can be directed toward the sciences, toward acquiring the moral and rational virtues, so that he might arrive at that goal. On the basis of this reasoning, he would not aim at pleasure alone, choosing the most pleasant food and drink, and similarly with the rest of his conduct. Rather, he would aim at what is most useful. If it happens to be pleasant, so be it, and if it happens to be repugnant, so be it. But he would aim at what is most pleasant in accordance with medical theory. For example, if his desire for food subsides, it should be stimulated by agreeable, pleasant, good foods. Similarly, if the humor of black bile agitates him, he should make it cease by listening to songs and various kinds of melodies, by walking in gardens and fine buildings, by sitting before beautiful forms, and by things like this which delight the soul and make the disturbance of black bile disappear from it. In all this he should aim at making his body healthy, the goal of his body's health being that he attain knowledge. Similarly, if he bestirs himself and sets out to acquire money, his goal in accumulating it should be to spend it in connection with the virtues, and to use it to sustain his body and to prolong his existence, so that he perceives and knows of God what is possible for him to know. On the basis of this reasoning, the art of medicine is given a very large role with respect to the virtues, the knowledge of God, and attaining true happiness. To study it diligently is among the greatest acts of worship. It is then not like weaving and carpentry, for it enables us to perform our actions so that they become human actions, leading to the virtues and the truths. For if a man sets out to eat appetizing food, which is pleasant to the palate, and which has an agreeable odor, but is harmful and could be the cause of grave illness or eventually of destruction, then this man and the beast are alike. It is not the action of a man insofar as he is a man. Indeed, it is the action of a man insofar as he is an animal. He is like the beasts that perish. A human action requires taking only what is most useful. One sometimes leaves the most pleasant aside and eats what is most repugnant, with a view to seeking what is most useful. This is an action based upon thought and distinguishes man in his actions from what is unlike him. Similarly, if he has sexual intercourse whenever he wishes, without heeding what is harmful or useful, then he performs this action insofar as he is an animal, not insofar as he is a man. Now, all of his conduct might be with a view to what is most useful, as we have mentioned. But if he makes his goal solely the health of his body, and its being free from illness, he is not virtuous. For while such a man prefers the pleasures of health, another prefers the pleasure of eating or sexual intercourse, and neither has a true goal for his actions. The proper goal for all of one's conduct is the body's health, and prolonging its existence in a sound manner, in order that the instruments of the soul's powers, which are the organs of the body, remain sound. Then the soul can be directed toward the moral and rational virtues without any obstacle. There is no question about the value of whatever he learns from the sciences and from studies insofar as they provide a way for attaining that goal. Subjects not useful for attaining that goal, such as questions of algebra, the book of cones, mechanics, most questions of engineering, and moving weights, and many such questions aim at sharpening the mind and training the rational power in the method of demonstration, so that a man acquires a skill distinguishing a demonstrative syllogism from one which is not. He then possesses this method for attaining knowledge of the true reality of his existence. May he be exalted. Similarly, in all of his conversation, a man should speak only about what is useful for his soul, or about what wards off harm from his soul or body, or about knowledge or virtue, or to praise virtue, or a virtuous man, or to censure vice, or a vicious man. If the purpose of vilifying defective men and denouncing their deeds is to belittle them before the people so that they will be warned about them and not perform their actions, then that is necessary and is a virtue. Have you not seen his statement, may he be exalted? Like the deeds of the land of Egypt, where you dwelled, you shall not do. Like the deeds of the land of Canaan, so too the description of the Sodomites in the Bible, whenever corrupt and defective individuals are censured, and whenever corrupt and defective individuals are censured, their deeds denounced, and good men are praised and glorified. The purpose, as I mentioned to you, is for the people to follow the way of the latter and to avoid the way of the former. If a man sets this notion, knowledge of God, as his goal, he will discontinue many of his actions, greatly diminish his conversation. Someone who adheres to this goal will not be moved to decorate walls with gold or to put a gold border on his garment, unless he intends thereby to give delight to his soul for the sake of its health and to drive sickness from it, so that it will be clear and pure to receive the sciences. Thus they said, an attractive dwelling, an attractive wife, attractive utensils, and a bed prepared for the disciples. The disciples of the wise give delight to the mind of a man, for the soul becomes weary, and the mind dull by continuous reflection upon difficult matters, just as the body becomes exhausted from undertaking toilsome occupations until it relaxes and rests, and then returns to equilibrium.
In a similar manner, the soul needs to rest and to do what relaxes the senses, such as looking at beautiful decorations and objects, so that weariness be removed from it. As they said when our masters grew weary from study, now it is doubtful that when done for this purpose, these are bad futile, decorating and adorning buildings, vessels, and garments. Know that this level is very lofty, and it is difficult to reach. Only a few perceive it, and then only after very great discipline. So if a man happens to exist in this condition, I would not say that he is inferior to the prophets. I refer to a man who directs all the powers of his soul solely toward God. May he be exalted, who does not perform an important or trivial action, nor utter a word unless that action or that word leads to virtue or to something leading to virtue, and who reflects and deliberates upon every action and motion, sees whether it leads to that goal or not, and then does it. This is what the exalted requires. We make as our purpose when he says, "And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul." He means set the same goal for all the parts of your soul, namely, to love the Lord your God. The prophets, peace be upon them, have also urged this purpose. He, Solomon, said, "In all your ways know him." The sages explained this and said, "Even with a transgression, you should make your goal the truth when doing such a thing. Even if from a certain point of view you commit a transgression, the sages, peace be upon them, summarize this whole notion in the briefest possible words and encompass the meaning with utmost perfection, so that if you were to consider the brevity of those words, how they express the greatness and magnificence of this notion in its entirety, about which so many works have been composed without being able to grasp it, then you would know it was undoubtedly spoken by divine power. This is what they say in one of the commands in this tractate. Let all your deeds be for the sake of heaven. This is the notion we have explained in this chapter, and is as much as we think needs to be mentioned here in accordance with the introductory remarks. The 6th chapter on the difference between the virtuous man and the continent man. The philosopher said that even though the continent man performs virtuous actions, he does good things while craving and strongly desiring to perform bad actions. He struggles against his craving and opposes by his action what his appetitive power, his desire, and the state of his soul arouse him to do. He does good things while being troubled at doing them. The virtuous man, however, follows in his action what his desire and the state of his soul arouse him to do, and he does good things while craving and strongly desiring them. There is agreement among the philosophers that the virtuous man is better and more perfect than the continent man. However, they said that the continent man can take the place of the virtuous man in most things, even though he is necessarily lower in rank due to his desire to do something bad. Even though he does not do it, his strong desire for it is a bad state of the soul. Solomon said something like this. He said, "The soul of the wicked desires evil." He spoke about the joy of the virtuous in doing good things and the pain of the non-virtuous in doing them. This is what he says: "A joy to the righteous is the doing of justice, but dismay to evildoers." This is what appears in the speech of the law, in agreement with what the philosophers have said. When we investigated the speech of the sages about this matter, we found that according to them, someone who craves and strongly desires transgressions is more virtuous and perfect than someone who does not crave them and suffers no pain in abstaining from them. They even said that the more virtuous and perfect an individual is, the stronger is both his craving for transgressions and his pain in abstaining from them. They related stories in that vein, and they said, whoever is greater than his friend has a greater evil impulse than he. As if this were not enough, they said that the reward of the continent man is proportionate to his pain in restraining himself. They said the reward is according to the pain. Even more significant is the commanding a man to be continent and therefore bidding him to say, I would not naturally yearn to commit this transgression even if it were not prohibited by the law. This is what they say. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, let a man not say, I do not want to eat meat with milk. I do not want to wear mixed fabric. I do not want to have illicit sexual relations, but let him say, I want to. But what shall I do? My Father in heaven has forbidden me. The external meaning of the two counts by the philosophers and the Jewish sages is understood superficially. The two views contradict one another. However, that is not the case. Rather, both of them are true, and there is no conflict between them at all. For the bad things to which the philosophers referred when they said that someone who does not desire them is more virtuous than someone who does desire them and restrains himself, these are the things generally accepted by all the people as bad, such as murder, theft, robbery, fraud, harming an innocent man, repaying a benefactor with evil, degrading parents, and things like these. They are the laws about which the sages, peace be upon them, said if they were not written down, they would deserve to be written down. Some of our modern wise men who suffer from the sickness of the dialectical theologians call them rational laws. Dialectical theologians. Call them rational laws. There is no doubt that the soul which craves and strongly desires any of them is defective, that the virtuous soul neither longs for any of these bad things at all, nor suffers pain from the prohibition against them. When the sages said that the continent man is more virtuous and his reward is greater, they had in mind the traditional laws. This is correct because if it were not for the law, they would not be bad at all. Therefore, they said that a man needs to let his soul remain attracted to them and not place any obstacle before them other than the law. Consider the wisdom, peace be upon them, and the examples they used for Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel did not say, let a man not say, I do not want to kill, I do not want to steal, I do not want to lie, but they want to. But what shall I do? On the contrary, he mentioned only traditional matters, meat with milk, mixed fabric, and illicit sexual unions. These laws and similar ones are what God calls my statutes. They said, statutes which I have prescribed for you, you have no permission to investigate. The nations of the world argue against them, and Satan criticizes them, such as the red heifer and the scapegoat. Those called rational by the moderns are called commandments in the explanation of the sages. Thus, from everything we have said, it has become clear what the transgressions are for which, if a man has no desire, he is more virtuous than someone who desires them but restrains himself, and which transgressions are the opposite. This is a marvelous subtlety and a wonderful reconciliation of the two views. The texts supporting both views indicate that what we have explained is correct. The purpose of this chapter has been completed. The 7th chapter on the veils of the meaning. In the Midrash and the Haggadah, as well as in the Talmud, it is often found that some of the prophets saw God from behind many veils, which others saw him from behind a few veils, depending upon the closeness to God and the level of prophecy. They, the sages, said that Moses, our master, saw God from behind one diaphanous veil. I mean a transparent one. This is what they said. He looked through a transparent glass. Sefa Claria
Sapphire Claria is the name of the looking glass made from a transparent body such as a barrel or glass. As we shall explain at the end of the tractate Kelim, I shall now tell you what is intended by this notion. So the Sapphire Claria, the biggest Sapphire Claria, is in the museum of the British Natural History Museum. It's like 180 pounds. It's the biggest perfect spherical clear gemstone in the world. You can look it up. In the second chapter, we explain that some virtues are rational and some are moral. Similarly, some vices are rational, such as ignorance, stupidity, and a slow understanding. And some are moral, such as lust, arrogance, irascibility, rage, impudence, love of money. Similar things, these moral vices are very numerous. In the fourth chapter, we gave the rule for recognizing them. All these vices are veils separating man from God. May he be exalted. To explain that, the prophet said, only your sins have separated you from your God. He says that our sins, which, as we have mentioned, are these evil things, are veils separating us from the exalted. Know that no prophet prophesies until after he acquires all the rational virtues and most of the moral virtues, the most important ones. This is the saying. Prophecy only comes to rest upon a wise, powerful, and rich man. Wise undoubtedly includes all of the rational virtues. Rich refers to one of the moral virtues, I mean contentment. But they call the contented man rich. This is what they say in defining the rich man. Who is rich? He who rejoices with his lot. That is, he is content with what time brings him, and he is not pained at what it does not bring him. Similarly, powerful man refers to one of the moral virtues, I mean that he governs his powers as thought dictates. As we explained in the 5th chapter, this is the saying. Who is a powerful man? He who conquers his impulse. It's amazing, but this is like reading the Tao Te Ching or Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching or the Shin Shin Ming. Essentially, Jewish sage mysticism is Zen theory and practice, or magic theory and practice, which is essentially just ethical neurolinguistic programming. Which is, in Stoicism, they say you should think of God more than thou breathest, which is meaning to have the mind of God, or to have the Holy Spirit, or what the Hindus call pranayama. To possess the moral virtues in their entirety is to the extent of not being impaired by any vice at all. Is not one of the conditions of prophecy. Solomon was a prophet according to the testimony of Scripture. In Gibeon, the Lord appeared. If we find that he had a moral vice, namely manifest lust, this can be seen from the number of wives he took, which is an action stemming from the state of lust. Clearly says, did not Solomon sin by these things? Similarly, David, peace be upon him, was a prophet. He said, the rock of Israel spoke to me. If we find that he was cruel, even though he directed it, his cruelty against the Gentiles toward killing the infidels, or being compassionate to Israel, still it is explained in Chronicles that because of his frequent killing, God did not find him fit to build the temple, and said to him, you shall not build a house unto my name, because you have shed much blood. We find that Elijah, may his memory be blessed, had the moral habit of irascibility, even though he directed it against the heretics, and was irate at them. Still the sages, may their memory be blessed, explain that God removed him from the world and said to him, someone with as much zeal as you is not suitable for the people, for he would destroy them. Similarly, we find that Samuel was afraid of Saul, and Jacob was fearful of meeting Esau. His moral habits and others like them are the veils of the prophets, peace be upon them. Thus whoever has 2 or 3 moral habits,
not in the mean. As we have explained in the 4th chapter, it is said to see God from behind 2 or 3 veils. Do not fail to know that the defectiveness inherent in some moral habits diminishes the degree of prophecy. We have found that some moral vices, such as irascibility, prevent prophecy entirely. It said, if anyone who becomes angry is a prophet, his prophecy departs from him. They infer this from Elijah. For when he was irascible, revelation ceased until his irascibility disappeared. This is what he said, and now bring me a musician. The same holds for anxiety and grief. The Holy Spirit was removed from our father Jacob during all the days of his sadness over Joseph until the news came that he was alive. Its scripture said, in the spirit of Jacob the father was revived. The Targum, which explains the intentions transmitted by our master Moses, said the Holy Spirit came to rest upon Jacob the father. And there is the text of the sages. Prophecy does not come to rest through laziness, nor through sadness, but through something joyful. When our master Moses knew that no veils remained, which he had not pierced, that all the moral virtues and all the rational virtues had become perfected in him, he sought to perceive the true reality of God's existence, since no obstacle remained. So he said, let me see your glory. God, may he be exalted, informed him that this was not possible due to his being an intellect existing in matter. I mean, since he was a human being, this is what he said, for man shall not see me and live. Between him and the perception of the true reality of God's existence, there remained only one transparent veil, namely the unseparated human intellect. God favored him and granted him more perception. After his request than he had before it, God informed him that the goal was not possible for him as long as he had a body. The true perception was referring to as seeing a face. For if a man sees the face of his companion, he attains an image in his soul which he will not confuse with another. However, if he sees the back of his companion, even if he picks him out of sight by sight, he might be in doubt and confuse him with another. Similarly, to perceive the exalted in truth is to attain one's soul with regard to the verity of his existence. None of the other beings share with that existence, so that one finds his existence firmly established in his soul, distinct from the existence of the other beings found in his soul. Human perception cannot reach this level of perception, but Moses, peace be upon him, perceived a little below it. This was referred to in the verse, you shall see my back. I shall treat this subject in detail in the book of prophecy. When the sages, peace be upon them, learned that these two kinds of vices, I mean the rational and the moral, form a veil between man and God, that by them the degrees of the prophets may be distinguished, they set about some disciples on the basis of what they had observed of their knowledge and moral habits. They are worthy of the presence resting upon them as upon Moses, our master. Do not let the meaning of this comparison escape you, for they liken these others to Moses, but did not regard them as equal to him. God forbid. Similarly, they spoke about others like Joshua in the way we have indicated. This is the meaning we intended to explain in this chapter. The 8th chapter, a man's inborn disposition. It is not possible for the man to possess virtue or vice by nature from the beginning of his life, just as it is not possible for a man to possess one of the practical arts by nature. Still, it is possible to be naturally disposed toward a virtue or a vice, so that it is easy. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. That was a great reading. That really lines up with everything else that I've read with regards to Holy Spirit, really. Yeah. So this is how to be as greedy as possible legally. Also the ethical writings of Maimonides. Thank you for being here.
can't thank you enough. Without you, I wouldn't have done this. No way I would have read that long if I knew that somebody wasn't listening. I'm also recording this live on YouTube, X Live, as well as 2 other YouTubes. So I think it's been a great reading. You know, you can join all these rooms and listen to people talk about Ayn Rand, and literally talk about nothing. They're like talking about a book, but not reading a book. That's like talking about Pamela Anderson, but never fucking Pamela Anderson. I like to fuck. And unfortunately, these people, they can fuck off because they're just a bunch of fuck offs. That's what they are. A bunch of sad little depressed fuck offs. Scared of the Holy Spirit resting on their tongue. Okay, I am going to end the ethical writings of Maimonides, but I'm going to let How to Be Greedy as Possible legally stay open. So, Cuckoo, if you want to move over to that room, I'm going to live stream another room, refresh my goblet. I thank you all for joining us. This has been the ethical writings of Maimonides, recorded by Adrian Dittman, aka John Kitover. Go to johnkitover.com, follow me on Instagram, text me a picture of your feet at 312-498-0517. That's 312-498-0517. We pay $10 a foot. So if you want free $20 sent to your Zelle account, just text me pictures of your feet. We want to see how dirty your toenails are. Thank you so very little. We'll call you. Don't call us. Okay, we're jumping into the one about free speech.
But you're not going to allow them the decision to defend themselves then, right? So it's Jeff's fault. So hold on. So it's Jeff's fault for coming in the room, and it's Jeff's fault that Diego ran anti-Semitic bullshit towards him is basically what you're saying. So you're not going to hold Diego accountable. You're going to hold Jeff accountable for defending himself and speaking out against what's wrong. Issa, you have a really backwards way of thinking. Honestly, like I'm not even wasting.
But if that's the way you feel, then why are you here? Okay, I have to go.
It's my fault.
Okay, I have to go on silent. I have to go on silent minutes. I want to say something. Issa is cultivating space. Jeff is welcome to join. Diego is welcome to join. If Jeff doesn't like the way they run his wedding, he's welcome to quietly and so is Diego. So this idea to say that don't allow juicy room is it's just that's not the way it goes. Wait,
You're missing the point. She'll let Diego spew his bullshit, but she won't let anybody else speak out against it. That's what everybody's trying to follow.
That is the big point, Mayor. I hope you're not ignoring this.
Could you listen? She can cultivate this space as she wishes to cultivate this space, and anybody can join or leave as they wish. Jeff's argument, which is a much stronger argument, is the reason why she's cultivating space this way is because she's trying to keep the conversation on topic and not allow it to be involved in the conversations like this every time. I actually agree with that. And if you ask my opinion, doesn't be said like my first statement, you can cultivate the space wherever you want. But if you're asking my opinion, I think all of you do, it's allowing the original distraction is the problem. So I wouldn't throw Diego out because he's insulting. I would throw him out, we respect him, I'm sorry. If he's distracting. So it could be once and firmly. If you are going to make these comments, which are going to trigger people and ruin the conversation, then that is distracting. And if you do it
You see how much of a stark contrast that is to what we just read from Maimonides? So you tell me, is Meyer on the path to God? Is Issa on the path to God? Nope. Is Nikki on the path to God? Nope. None of these people are. None of them. So, Ribbono Shel Olam, I'm glad you were able to listen to the contrast between intelligence and stupidity. Just know that you are now smarter than all these stupid people. Congratulations, Chris. You made it. You're now a doctor.
I've said over and over, I've been to my Jewish friends, to other people, the way to combat anti-Semitism is with more speech, not with shutting down speech. I don't want Jews to join the intersexual ideology.
No, the way to shut down bigotry and racism is to call it out and tell them to stop.
Okay, the reason why that's a bad idea and will not work is because then who's the arbitrator of
within a short time, when the AOCs and the Ilhan Omars get more power, they will say that Zionism is hate speech and Zionism is racism, and advocating for the state of Israel should be shut down. That's a dangerous world to live in. We are a very strong, small minority, and we can't live in that world. You know which world we can win every time? In intellectual, honest conversation. We will win every time because we have the truth on our side. So I will never give the government the gavel to say what is true and what is not. I will say, let them spew their nonsense, and I will show them why it's nonsense. And I'm very consistent on this message.
Well, this isn't personal. This isn't government here.
So I'm going to jump in because my name's been brought up literally dozens of times. First, I want to say, for me, it's not that deep with Diego. I know he's a troll. I also know he is a truly hateful individual. I don't address it because I'm triggered. I address it because, objectively speaking, some of the things that he says or other people have said, whether it's quoting from Mein Kampf or there is no avoiding the conclusion that it is hateful hate speech designed to distract from the conversation in the room. And Lisa can run her room any way she wants. I find value in the space, regardless of this little factoid. I wouldn't have brought it up in this space, except that the topic was actually free speech, and that I do see that this is a version of free speech. And I think the better thing to do, rather than silencing those who rightfully stand up and say, this isn't intellectual speech, this isn't bringing the conversation forward, would be to actually encourage those who are distracting from the conversation with racist ideological lies, would be to actually take a stand and say, okay, I'm not going to, maybe I won't say it, maybe I won't tell you you're a bigot, but the folks in the room can, and then we need to move on. That's all.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I am not protecting anyone from you calling them a bigot or a racist or whatever. It's not about that. You can call them whatever you want. I don't care about Diego. I'm not sheltering his feelings either. But if I knew that calling him a bigot and we could move on, I wouldn't have an issue. And all of this conversation is right now happening with the conversation that Diego and I had yesterday because of a specific instance. And I don't think he's saying all of this because he's a weak person that feels threatened by Diego. I think that, and actually I appreciate when Jeff challenges me in certain things, and I never shut down, or I never feel affected, or I never feel attacked. I never feel attacked or anything. I mean, he can't tell me this stuff. He's not coming from an I feel offended point of view. He's coming from like, hey, listen, why are you doing this? And he asks me and he challenges me. And maybe in the end we do not agree, but it's fine. He challenged me. Now, what was I gonna say?
Listen, everyone is the eternal dancer, including that neo-Nazi Jew-hating piece of shit.
Oh my God, everybody's saying like
Communist censorship. I told you, man, she's a fascist. That bitch is a fascist. She's a stupid fascist, too. Okay, we're going to go jump into the Deep State Patriot room. Where did it go? And we'll go into neurotheology.
For example, I'm in Northern California now.
Oh, Dr. James! Oh, psychopath index. The my psychopathic index meter just jumped to a high 10. We found a psychopath, a neurotic.
I think that's a double reason why I wouldn't really want.
Oh, and Jacqueline is here, the paraplegic.
Anything one way or the other, but it might be worth looking into if that's something.
I made Jacqueline come once.
Topic and,
she's not a paraplegic. Look at that. She just doesn't want to get up. She's lazy. They're never going to bring me up. These are the 3 biggest losers. Oh my God, they're bringing me up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if someday in the future my pain will be used when Texas finally decides to join the rest of society.
I think you got bigger problems than that, Jacqueline. You're a paraplegic.
Without that federal sort of stamp of approval for us to have conversations like this, I mean, I'm happy to have a conversation about this academically, but Your question is a good one, and I think it's probably one of the more salient questions. However, I just don't want to flirt with anything that could.
What is a salient question? What the fuck is salient?
I was wondering, because you said there were over 500, people.
Okay, give me a moment, and I'm gonna see. I'm just gonna look up analgesic because that's kind of the domain I probably would have sorted it into.
Analgesic? Hi, this is Adrian. Moderators, could you put me in your queue, please? So I have a question for Dr. James and Sam, and Alfonso, if he wants to answer it as well. This question is directed to the moderators. You know, I am a big reader of philosophy and wisdom, and I keep reading about rage and anger and also unagreeability or disagreeability. You know, and some people I feel like are on a very high neurotic disagreeability index where they get micro lit with gaslighting and microaggressions trigger them. So I'm just saying from like an organizational perspective, how do you view anger management or awareness in terms of moving forward? You know, because I'm a big believer in God. So everything outside of God to me is politic. And if we're not talking about God, we're talking about politic. That to me is what real politic means. Now, some people, that could gaslight some people. I could also say that all communication is hypnosis, and that will gaslight people. I could say all types of things that will gaslight people. But my point is, as the listener or the person experiencing the speaker, why is gaslighting people such a useful tactic in terms of propaganda?
Adrian, may I ask you if we're being recorded right now by you outside of the app or inside of the app?
Yes, this room is on replay, sir.
But are you typically recording it for your own personal use or a podcast?
No, absolutely not. People say that about me, but that's fake news and gossip.
Okay, all right, I'll take you at your word. I'm gonna just, before I would personally answer that, I want to skip back to Jacqueline's. So I would, if you have the ability to do a full text search, Jacqueline, I looked up analgesic properties. I found way.
I guess it wasn't so much of a question as it was a declarative statement. I think Dr. James was just watching me live stream for a second, and then he left. He wanted to confirm that I was a liar. Oh, this is so funny. Okay, we'll come back to that room. Oh, that room has shut down. What else is there? All right, we cleared the queue. There ain't shit left. Oh, there's a new atheism room. Somebody named JCC. I don't know who that is. All right. Anything else? I think that could be it. Yeah, that's it. All right, Chris, I'm going to shut down this room. This has been how to be as greedy as possible. Legally greedy. Is it legal to be greedy? Can you legally be greedy? I hope you enjoyed it. I thoroughly did. And I knew you were going to come. And I'm so glad you came. And I hope you come again. And keep coming. And don't forget to come. And then we want you to come again. Come, keep coming. Subscribe, share, and come. All right, everybody. This has been how to be as greedy as possible. Legally. Everybody is the eternal dancer, including that neo-Nazi Jew-hating piece of shit. Oh my God, what a day, what a world, what a life. I knew you were gonna come.